Chapter 2082. The Peacock tribe and the Rock tribe had been worried at first, worried that Ling Xiao would suppress them and treat them like slaves. But now, they completely supported and trusted Ling Xiao. It was very simple. Ling Xiao had given them enough benefits, and didn't treat them like slaves, although they really were Ling Xiao's slaves. Today, most of the divine Phoenix domain was celebrating, but these two tribes were praying that Ling Xiao was safe and sound. They knew that if something happened to Ling Xiao, no one would know how to deal with them. The White Tiger domain was temporarily under the command of Emperor Wuxiang. In the imperial palace of Sky Sea City, Wuxiang looked worried as he read through memorials. Feng Mingxiao and Feng Minglian were by his side. The family of three was happy and harmonious, but there was no smile on their faces. I wonder how junior brother is doing. Wuxiang put down his brush and sighed helplessly. Father, don't worry. I believe that Brother Ling will be able to turn misfortune into blessing. Feng Minglian comforted him. She was also saved by Ling Xiao and had some ambiguous feelings for Ling Xiao. She also believed in Ling Xiao. Feng Mingxiao said, "That child can even resist the heavenly mandate, holy light. What is a trifling devil will to him?" That's right. Then let's build up the White Tiger domain and welcome his return. Wuxiang's eyes shone with determination. Meanwhile, in the desolate land of 10,000 lightnings, the battle was still going on. Lung Mei's entire body was bathed in blood, and there were wounds all over her body. Although she was very strong now, there were too many opponents, all of whom were life-seizers. She fought with all her might, but the number of enemies seemed to never decrease. Fortunately, she had the healing pills and internal energy recovery pills that Ling Xiao had given her. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't be able to hold on. Bitch, do you really want to die? Who is that Ling Xiao to you? He's already possessed, yet you're still so protective of him. How could he know? The Black Tortoise Temple's cultivators were also stunned by Cold Plum's bloody appearance. Even though he was covered in blood, he was still extremely ferocious. By now, more than 100 life-seizers from the Black Turtle Cathedral had died at the hands of Cold Plum. No one was willing to let this continue. Thus, someone suggested a war of attrition. In any case, Lung Mei was already injured. Even if they didn't attack and only harassed her from the side, Lung Mei wouldn't be able to heal herself. In that case, Lung Mei would die from her injuries sooner or later. Cold Plum's lips curled into a sneer. Even if the Black Tortoise Temple's people didn't make a move, did it mean that she wouldn't? Plum blossoms condensed from fresh blood danced in the air, landing in the middle of the crowd, and began to attack wildly. If you want to deal with my lord, you'll have to do it over my dead body, Cold Plum. Cold Plum didn't have many goals in life. She just wanted to stay by Ling Xiao's side and protect Ling Xiao. For that, she was willing to do anything. If she had to pay the price of her life to keep Ling Xiao alive, then she would do it. This is bad. This girl is too vicious. Let's work together to destroy her. Realizing that delaying tactics weren't working, the Black Tortoise Temple cultivators were furious. There were hundreds of people present, including more than 100 life-seizers and a few hundred Yin-Yang realm cultivators. Although these people would not be able to cause any harm to Lung Mei if they fought alone. Once they joined forces, they would be very powerful. Kill! A group of people charged forward like madmen. The Yin-Yang realm cultivators were used as cannon fodder, while the life-seizers prepared to launch sneak attacks. Although Cold Plum kept unleashing killing moves, she was too tired and her injuries were too severe. She killed countless people, but still couldn't stop the enemy's attacks. Soon, the encirclement was only 2 or 3 meters wide. "My lord, I'm sorry. Cold Plum can't stay with you forever." A pair of black feathers appeared behind Cold Plum's back. The power of the black feather folk was fully unleashed. She was going to go all out and take these people down with her. She had no other choice. If she could hold out a little longer, perhaps Ling Xiao would be able to suppress the will of the Night Devil King. Screw off! An angry roar suddenly rang out. Ling Xiao's tightly shut eyes suddenly snapped open. He had been completely unaware of what was happening outside, and had been focused on fighting the Night Devil King's will. But now that Cold Plum was in danger, he had taken full control of his body. The Night Devil King had already lost half of his soul realm to the divine lightning. Now, coupled with the strong feelings Ling Xiao had for Cold Plum, Ling Xiao's consciousness was as hot as the sun. A thunderous roar resounded as divine lightning struck down. The black tortoise temple's cultivators that surrounded Lung Mei were reduced to dust, drifting away with the wind. Cold Plum, you're so stupid. Looking at the unconscious Cold Plum, Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh. Right now, he had temporarily suppressed the terrifying devil will, but it was only temporary. He had to find a way to deal with it once and for all. Not only would he be able to use this terrifying power, but he would also be able to avoid becoming a devil. Otherwise, if this happened every time, he wouldn't be able to handle it. And if he could fool the Night Devil King once, then the Night Devil King probably wouldn't listen to him a second time. So this time he had to solve the problem completely. He looked in the direction of Nine Heaven Palace. Although Nine Heaven Palace had declined, it still had ancient books that had been passed down from 100,000 years ago. Perhaps he could find some information from them. Moreover, Cold Plum also needed to rest. Thinking of this, he left the place where the lightning gathered and stepped into Nine Heaven Palace. There was already no one in Nine Heaven Palace. In order to help Ling Xiao take down the White Tiger continent, Nine Heaven Dream had transferred all the people there. If there was anyone, it would probably be the woman who was waiting in the huge hall of ancient books. Ling Xiao gave Cold Plum a healing pill, but he didn't dare to heal her, because the demonic energy in his body was still causing trouble. If he wasn't careful, there would be more trouble. It wasn't easy to use the divine lightning to suppress the Night Devil King. He didn't want to go crazy again, otherwise he might even kill his own people. In the ancient book hall, there was indeed only that woman. Seeing Ling Xiao, that woman first frowned, then said, "Leave her to me. You go to the 3rd floor. There should be something you want there." "Thank you, Senior." Ling Xiao had no reason to doubt this woman, because this woman felt even more terrifying than Nine Heaven Dream. If she really wanted to make things difficult for him, she didn't have to go through so much trouble. After handing Cold Plum to the woman, Ling Xiao stepped into the 3rd floor. In the vast ancient book hall, Ling Xiao closed his eyes and released his soul power, beginning to search for books that could help him. Nine Heaven Devil Sealing Seal. Soon, Ling Xiao found an ancient book. This was a seal created by the mysterious queen of the Nine Heavens 100,000 years ago to seal demons. Although he didn't know if it was useful, he still had to try. Chapter 2083. It wouldn't be easy to seal the Night Demon King with his own strength. However, as long as he succeeded, the Night Demon King would no longer be a burden to Ling Xiao in the future. Instead, it would become an extremely terrifying trump card. Therefore, the success of the Nine Heavens Demon Sealing Mark was really important to him. According to the book, some preparatory work was required. For example, he had to refine a demon sealing pill first. The demon sealing pill wasn't easy to refine, but it was an essential item to seal the Night Demon King. Fortunately, Ling Xiao had killed many powerhouses during this period of time and obtained a lot of benefits at the White Tiger Storm meet. Therefore, he had all the ingredients for the pill. He spent 20 minutes to refine a demon sealing pill as a backup. One shouldn't think that the demon sealing pill wasn't much just because it was easy to refine. In fact, the demon sealing pill was a top-notch dark-grade elixir. It was the best elixir Ling Xiao could refine at the moment. Generally speaking, top-notch dark-grade elixirs could only be refined by alchemists who were at least at the 3rd level rebirth grade. However, Ling Xiao had the Taiji Eye, the Sky Tyrant Martial Soul, and the guidance of a Yuan Venerate. Therefore, he was much stronger than the average alchemist. He was able to refine an elixir that simply couldn't appear in the White Tiger continent. After refining the elixir successfully, Ling Xiao placed the demon sealing pill in a jade bottle and prepared to use it later. Besides the demon sealing pill, the Nine Heavens demon sealing mark also required an essential item, the true Samadhi fire. This was something that Ling Xiao had as well. The true Samadhi fire was a sacred fire that was very difficult to find in the world. However, Ling Xiao had managed to obtain it. If these two most difficult conditions were met, the success rate of the Nine Heavens demon sealing mark would be extremely high. But I'm still missing one thing. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. According to the book, one more thing was needed besides the demon sealing pill and the true Samadhi fire. That was the Asura demon core. Rumor had it that the demon realm had the Asura race that was the best at fighting. The Nine Heavens demon sealing mark that the Nine Heavens mysterious queen had created had used the Asura demon core as the core material. The stronger the Asura, the better the effect of the demon core. However, this Asura devil core made things difficult for Ling Xiao. The value of this item was much higher than the demon sealing pill and the true Samadhi fire. The key point was that this was the mystic world, and Asuras were rare to begin with. They had only appeared 100,000 years ago, and if he wanted to find them again, all he could find were their corpses. But where was he going to find Asura's corpse now? Don't you have it? Yuan Venerate's voice suddenly rang out. Previously, because Ling Xiao's consciousness had been suppressed by the Night Devil King's demonic intent, his Yuan Venerate had also been imprisoned and unable to make a sound. Now that Ling Xiao's consciousness had regained control, the Yuan Venerate could speak again. I do. Ling Xiao was stunned. Of course you do. The demon sealed in the skyscraper furnace is an Asura warrior. His strength is probably even more terrifying than the Night Devil King's. If young Master Shenluo hadn't used the Shenluo Great Array and the Human Ruler Cauldron to destroy that fellow, you would probably have died there as well. The Yuan Venerate sighed. The Asura Devil Core is definitely enough to seal a mere Night Devil King. Is this it? Ling Xiao thought, and a black gem-like object appeared in his hand. This was what he had obtained from the Asura's body. Ling Xiao hadn't known that this was the Asura Devil Core, but he hadn't thrown it away. It would be a pity to throw away something obtained from the body of such a powerful demon. That's right, this is it, the Yuan Venerate said with a smile. All right, now that the three materials have been gathered, I can release the Night Devil King. Ling Xiao followed the steps described in the book. If he succeeded, he would naturally be able to seal the Night Devil King and make his demonic intent completely disappear from this world. Only his power would be available for him to use. However, if he failed, he wouldn't be as lucky as he had been before. He might really become a demon that didn't care about his own family. You have to think this through. Not only will this process be extremely painful, but the consequences will be unimaginable if you fail. The Yuan Venerate reminded him. Master, don't worry. I will succeed. The Nine Heavens demon sealing seal can seal even more powerful demons. This Night Devil King is probably a mid-level or high-level rebirth grade being. If I still can't seal him, I will really have to accept my fate. Ling Xiao had no other choice. Actually, this was a path he had to choose. After all, if he didn't seal the Night Devil King now, the Night Devil King would recover very quickly and completely take over his body. Boom! The moment the Night Devil King's demonic intent was released, the entire hall began to shake violently. A terrifying black chi pervaded the air as if it was going to destroy the entire place. However, there was a great array set up by the mysterious Queen of the Nine Heavens here. No matter how strong the Night Devil King was, he definitely wouldn't be able to escape. This was also the reason why Ling Xiao had chosen to seal the Night Devil King here. Kid, you went back on your word. You said that you would offer up your body. The moment the Night Devil King was released, he was furious to the extreme. Nonsense. You were the one who went back on your word first. If you hadn't delayed me along the way, I would have definitely killed all my enemies. You even tried to make me kill my own friends and soldiers. How can I tolerate your evil intentions? Ling Shao said coldly. Kid, although I don't know where you got the courage to release me, you are dead meat now. The Night Devil King pounced on Ling Shao, wanting to swallow Ling Shao whole. I don't think so. Ling Shao sneered and swallowed the demon sealing pill. The demon sealing pill could form a demon sealing inscription around the consumer. These inscriptions could protect Ling Shao and prevent Ling Shao from being killed by the Night Devil King. This was the effect of the demon sealing pill. You think this demon sealing inscription can stop me? It can protect you for a while, but it can't protect you forever. The Night Devil King roared crazily. The demonic chi became even more ferocious as it rampaged through the entire hall. Even the experts of the Nine Heavens Palace on the first floor sensed it. This kid is really crazy. He actually wants to use the Nine Heavens Demon Sealing Seal to seal such a powerful demonic being. No, I have to go take a look. The experts of the Nine Heavens Palace looked at the sleeping Cold Plum and used a secret technique to protect Cold Plum before leaping up. Just as she reached the entrance of the third floor, a towering demonic chi rushed out and sent her flying. So terrifying. The experts of the Nine Heavens Palace were shocked. One had to know that although she hadn't made a move, her cultivation was the strongest in the Nine Heavens Palace. She had already reached the third level of the rebirth realm. She couldn't even resist the demonic chi. If it wasn't for the mysterious queen of the Nine Heavens array protecting the hall, all the books here would have been destroyed. Crazy, really crazy. Is this child courting death? Chapter 2084. To be honest, Ling Shao was also a little shocked. When this Night Devil King was underground in the past, he was directly suppressed by the tyrant Heaven Martial Spirit before he felt strong. Today, without the help of the tyrant Heaven Martial Spirit Black Figure, it was not easy to rely on himself. Samadhi, true fire! Ling Shao snorted coldly. The Samadhi, true fire, was released from his body, instantly filling the entire great hall. The Samadhi, true fire, and fiendish chi clashed in this great hall. That Night Devil King cried out in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Ling Shao was protected by the Devil Sealing inscription. He could not get close at all for a while. Now he was going to be burned by this Samadhi, true fire. Although he was not afraid, after a long time, it would be very troublesome. He wanted to escape for the time being. There was also a terrifying grand array here. He could not get out either. This was simply catching a turtle in a jar, trapped. For a while, he might not be afraid of the Samadhi true fire. But this Samadhi true fire's characteristic was that the longer it was, the higher the temperature. Hence, it was often used to refine pills. If this went on for a long time, even he would not be able to withstand it. Ling Shao looked at the Night Devil King with cold eyes. Actually, he was not relaxed in his heart either. On one hand, he had to control the Devil Sealing inscription. On the other hand, he had to control the Samadhi true fire to fight with the Night Devil King. This was really a very difficult thing. But in order to be able to seal the Night Devil King, he did not care anymore. The Night Devil King was not willing to wait for death like this either. He attacked Ling Shao even more frenziedly. The entire great hall kept shaking as if it could collapse at any time. On Ling Zhao's side, although he had the dual protection of the Samadhi true fire and the Devil Sealing inscription, the Night Devil King was seriously too strong. His body suffered heavy blows continuously. Fresh blood flowed out of his mouth. At this time, the terror of the mystic world body was manifested, especially now that the Heavenly Empire had already unified the White Tiger continent and renamed it the White Tiger region. This piece of land that Ling Shao was in had already become his territory. This mystic world body could continuously absorb heaven and earth spiritual energy and strengthen continuously. Although fresh blood kept flowing out of his mouth, Ling Shao was able to hold on. Not only were his internal organs not damaged, they were still strengthening. It could be said that the tens of thousands of celestial soldiers had done him a great favor. As long as Ling Shao wasn't killed in one blow, he would be invincible. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. In the constant stalemate, Ling Xiao gradually gained the upper hand. Night Devil King's body was constantly being burned by the Samadhi true fire. Much of the devil Qi had already been burned red. This was equivalent to being assimilated by the Samadhi true fire. The Night Devil King's body turned transparent. At this moment, the other 6 Heaven Devil Kings attempted to split open again to protect themselves. However, the will of the Demon King of the first heaven belonged to Ling Xiao. If he was determined not to split, then the Night Devil King would not split. Master, is that the Night Devil King's magic core? Ling Xiao could not help but ask when he saw a similar black crystal in the Night Devil King's transparent body. That's not a demon core because the Night Devil King is formed by the 7 great Sky Fiend Kings. That thing should be a demon fiend seed. Take it out, quick! Yuan Venerate shouted. Understood, Master. Ling Xiao knew that his master would not harm him. Since his master had asked him to take out the demon fiend seed, it would definitely be beneficial to him. He stood up, used the demon sealing inscription to protect himself, and walked over to the Night Devil King. Although his right hand was also protected by the demon sealing inscription, he felt as if his entire arm was about to be crippled when it pierced the Night Devil King's body. Only the bones were left, and the flesh had completely rotted. That kind of intense pain almost made Ling Xiao give up directly. Fortunately, he did not give up. His hand finally grabbed the demon fiend seed and pulled it out. Is this the demon fiend seed? The energy inside feels so terrifying. What can this thing do? Ling Xiao had a feeling that all the power of the 7 great Sky Fiend Kings was condensed in this small seed. Furthermore, it was extremely unstable and could erupt at any time. That's right. This is the demon fiend seed of the 7 great Sky Fiend Kings. It was condensed from their origin source energy. Don't be fooled by its small size. You have to know that it was condensed from the power of 7 high-level rebirth realm powerhouses over tens of thousands of years. With this demon fiend seed, the 7 great Sky Fiend Kings could transform into the Night Devil King. Can you imagine? How terrifying would the power of such a terrifying thing be if it were to erupt completely? Even human immortals might perish, let alone rebirth realm martialists. The Yuan Venerate looked at the black, seed-like thing in Ling Xiao's hand with some apprehension. Given your current physical condition, you're still unable to convert it into your own power. However, you can turn it into your ultimate move. SSS, Ling Xiao couldn't help but gasp. He now had a clearer understanding of the terrifying demon fiend seed in his hand. At the moment, the demon fiend seed was constantly releasing terrifying corrosive energy that corroded Ling Xiao's demon sealing inscription. If this continued, Ling Xiao's hand would be crippled. Even the recovery speed of his mystic world body couldn't compare to the speed of this thing's destruction. He had to think of a way to deal with it immediately. Master, how should I deal with this demon fiend seed? I can't hold on much longer. Ling Xiao asked. It's very simple. Don't you have the Azura demon core? Put this demon fiend seed in it and swallow it. The Yuan Venerate's voice was very clear. However, Ling Xiao froze for a moment and couldn't help but ask, Master, are you sure you want me to swallow this thing? His worries weren't unfounded. Swallowing the demon fiend seed wasn't even recorded in the 9 heaven demon sealing seal. Ling Xiao could even imagine how dangerous and frightening this step would be. It should be known that martialists usually cultivated their bodies from the outside to the inside. Therefore, the inside of the body was definitely the weakest. Even though Ling Xiao's internal organs were extremely tough because of his mystic world body, they still couldn't compare to the surface of his body. To be honest, Ling Xiao was a little conflicted, hesitant, and conflicted. Swallowing it would certainly allow him to obtain a great deal of power, but the outcome would also likely be death and complete destruction. All the hard work he had put in before could be completely destroyed in this attempt. Even he himself would be reduced to a pile of rotten bones. Did he really have to do that? He had been fighting with the Night Devil King for so long and had finally gotten a chance to take the initiative. If he gave up, wouldn't that mean that he had failed? No. How could he give up? Since he didn't want to give up, he might as well go crazy again. Life or death. He might as well take a gamble. If he survived, his strength would definitely soar. If he died, he would vanish into thin air and perish together with the Night Devil King. In any case, he couldn't let the Night Devil King truly occupy his body. Chapter 2085. The step of putting the demonic fiend seed into the Azura demon core was to minimize the damage the demonic fiend seed would cause to the body. After all, the Azura demon core was also the energy core of the demon race and was rather compatible with the demonic fiend seed. Of course, this was relatively simple. The difficult part was swallowing it. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth and stuffed the Azura demon core with the demonic fiend seed into his mouth before swallowing it. The moment the Azura demon core was swallowed, Ling Xiao felt as if his body was being corroded by terrifying venom. He was in so much pain that his forehead was drenched in sweat, and he couldn't help but cry out in pain. His face, in that instant, was deathly pale to the extreme. Bear with it. Ling Xiao encouraged himself in his heart. He used his soul spirit to look inside and discovered that the Azura demon core had started to mess around after entering his body. It was as if a terrifying wild beast was colliding with his meridians and internal organs. Every collision caused him to be in great pain, although his body was also protected by the demon's sealing inscription. He still felt excruciating pain. Under the torture of the Azura demon core, Ling Xiao's internal organs and meridians were completely dislocated and squeezed into a ball. Even a large number of his cells were being corroded and shattered. An ordinary person would have died by now. However, Ling Xiao had a mystic world body after all. While it was being damaged, it was also being repaired constantly. Therefore, he wasn't dead yet. However, the terrifying torture he was experiencing was really worse than death. He couldn't sit still anymore. His body kept rolling and bumping on the ground. He was trying to alleviate the intense pain in his body. Don't be afraid of the pain. This is already the best outcome. With the Azura demon core, it shouldn't be able to kill you. Now try to control it. The Yuan Venerate encouraged Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao crawled off the ground. Although his face was pale and he was drenched in sweat, he still endured the intense pain and sat there. The power of the heavenly earth queen gushed out of his cells and completely enveloped the Azura demon core. Stop right there, you runaway horse. At this moment, Ling Xiao seemed to be taming an outstanding but bad-tempered wild horse. He kept trying. Then he broke free. However, he was unwilling to give up just like that. Since it could even suppress devilish will, he would absolutely not let go of this devil fiend seed. Once, twice, 3 times, after experiencing countless failures, Ling Xiao felt that his control over the power of the Royal Heaven Queen of Earth had become much more adept. Due to the continuous absorption of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, this Royal Heaven Earth power had also become even stronger. Finally, a barrier formed by the power of the Heavenly Queen of Earth formed around the Azura Devil core. Then, using the power of the Royal Heaven Earth Queen, Ling Xiao slowly extracted the power of the demonic fiend seed and let it slowly circulate in his meridians according to his own arrangements. Wild Horse finally became obedient. Success! The Yuan Venerate also gradually calmed down. The current Ling Xiao could really be described as covered in cuts and bruises. His entire body had been corroded beyond recognition by the terrifying devil fiend seed. It was really fortunate that he hadn't died and was able to maintain his human form. What a terrifying little fellow. I was prepared to use my soul as the price to save you once. I never imagined that you would really succeed and endure the terrible torture of the devil fiend seed. If you can endure such pain, your future prospects will really be limitless. The Yuan Venerate was really glad that he had accepted such a disciple back then. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to witness such a miraculous scene. He originally didn't have much hope for revenge. After all, his enemy was that terrifying king of sovereigns. However, after seeing Ling Xiao actually endure such cruel conditions today, the flames of hope in his heart seemed to be ignited. The originally noisy main hall became silent. The powerhouses of Nine Sky Palace brought Cold Plum, who had already woken up, to the third level. They didn't see Ling Xiao. Instead, they saw something that looked like an egg floating in midair. However, the egg was completely black and constantly emitted a terrifying demonic aura that made people feel apprehensive. "Senior, is that my master?" Cold Plum asked in confusion. "Even if you ask me, I don't know." This kid tried to use the Nine Sky Demon sealing mark to seal the Night Demon King like a madman. However, I also read that book and there was no such situation. It seems like your little master has failed and has been completely enveloped by the demonic intent. He can no longer return to his original appearance. The powerhouse of Nine Sky Palace sighed. "Forget it, I'll send him on his way. Since he can't defeat the demonic intent, I'll kill him before he completely turns into a demon." As she said that, she walked over to the huge black egg-shaped object. He wanted to destroy the egg-shaped object directly. She believed that Ling Xiao would agree with her. That young man didn't want to turn into a demon. There was no way around it. However, Ling Xiao wouldn't be willing to be completely manipulated by the demonic intent and become a puppet. However, just as the powerhouse of Nine Sky Palace was about to make a move, cracks suddenly appeared on the originally quiet eggshell. Devil energy flowed out from the cracks, but most of it was the spirit energy of heaven and earth. As the aura spread out, the cracks grew larger and larger. The powerhouse of Nine Sky Palace stared in shock, then stopped in place. Inwardly, she was completely shaken. When Ling Xiao had first arrived, his cultivation base had been in the 16th stage of life seizing. But now he was in the 18th stage, only a step away from the reincarnation level. Although it was strange, that aura was definitely Ling Xiao's and not the Night Demon King's. Don't tell me that the kid really did seal the Night Demon King. Not only that, but his cultivation base also increased. The powerhouse of Nine Sky Palace couldn't help but shake her head and smile wryly. Although the madman's actions were crazy, he had made the right bet. After all, the last 3 levels of the life-seizing level were very slow to progress and required massive amounts of power. That was why Ling Xiao's cultivation base had been stuck in the 16th stage of life-seizing for so long. But now he had broken through to the 18th stage of life-seizing. That was one of the most difficult levels. "Senior, is Master all right?" Cold Plum asked cautiously. "Don't worry, he should be fine." The powerhouse of Nine Sky Palace nodded. "It seems I misjudged you. Your master really is incredible. Not only did he not get devoured by the demonic intent, he actually used it to achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation base." What she didn't know was that Ling Xiao's greatest benefit wasn't his cultivation base increase, but rather his enlightenment of the 13th stage of the profound truths of shadows. By fusing the power of the Night Demon King into the profound truths of shadows, he had gained enlightenment of the Night Devil Flower. The black Night Devil Flower was beautiful, and the terrifying power it unleashed was something that not even reincarnation realm experts would dare to face. Chapter 2086. One flower, one world. That was to say, one flower could destroy an entire world. The Night Demon Flower could destroy the mystic world, but the key was to see how high Ling Xiao's cultivation could reach. Crack! The crisp sound of an eggshell cracking echoed throughout the entire hall. Cold Plum and the experts from Nine Heavens Palace looked at the eggshell nervously. The eggshell cracked and fell to the ground. In that instant, the entire hall shook as if there was an earthquake. What a terrifying thing! Such a small piece can cause the earth to shake. Amazing! The experts from Nine Heavens Palace were also frightened. Cold Plum, eat these cracked eggshells. Remember, just a small piece is enough. Leave the rest for others. Suddenly, Ling Xiao's voice came from the eggshell. Cold Plum nodded and picked up all the cracked eggshells. The fingernail-sized eggshell actually contained a terrifying amount of energy. Cold Plum didn't dare to eat it immediately. Instead, she put it in her storage ring. She planned to eat it when she broke through to the rebirth realm. Perhaps it could help her break through. Crack, crack! As the eggshell cracked faster and faster, Ling Xiao's body was also revealed. A ball of green and gold light completely enveloped him. Although his clothes were already torn apart, they still covered him completely. Ling Xiao's severely injured body was now completely intact. Not only was it as if he was never injured, but it was also obvious that his body was stronger than before. He took out a set of clothes from his storage ring and put them on. However, his brows were furrowed. There was no other reason. The energy in his body was too abundant, as if he was about to break through to the rebirth realm. However, he couldn't break through yet. According to the theory of reincarnation, wherever one broke through to the rebirth realm, they would be reincarnated to that place. For example, if he was standing on the White Tiger continent now, he would be born on the White Tiger continent after reincarnating. Ling Xiao wasn't satisfied with this. The White Tiger continent's cultivation conditions had already severely restricted his development. If he wanted to truly make greater progress, the best way was to head to the Black Tortoise continent. Even if they were to start over, the starting point of the Black Tortoise continent would definitely be higher. Therefore, his body was actually suppressing this energy. Master! Seeing that Ling Xiao was fine, Cold Plum ran over excitedly. Although she was almost beaten to death by the people of the Black Tortoise Temple, in the end, she was able to help her master completely abandon his demonic intent and regain his sanity. This was the best outcome for her. She was very pleased. Cold Plum, thank you. Ling Xiao looked at Cold Plum. This girl had stayed by his side and had never asked for anything. She had only been protecting him. To be honest, he was a little moved. Looking at Cold Plum's pale face, Ling Xiao really wanted to hug her and comfort her. However, he didn't do so in the end. He only had the Moon Maiden in his heart, and he was more grateful to Cold Plum than he liked her. Master, what do we do next? Cold Plum seemed to have noticed the awkwardness of the atmosphere and couldn't help but change the topic. Next, we naturally have to go to the Black Tortoise continent. Ling Xiao replied, I don't plan to spread the news that I'm still alive. Of course. I also hope that you won't leak it. His thoughts were actually very simple. He was about to enter the cycle of reincarnation. If others knew that he didn't die or didn't turn into a demon, then there would definitely be endless trouble. One had to know that for a long time after entering the cycle of reincarnation, his combat strength wouldn't be as good as it was now. That was the most dangerous time. He had to be careful. If he died or turned into a demon, no one would pay attention to him anymore. He would be treated as a legend who had passed away. Another point was that he wanted to see if those people in the Heavenly Empire would try to betray him if something really happened to him or if he died. It was best to solve the internal problems as soon as possible. This way, even if he left the mystic world and stepped out of the heaven's chosen gate, he wouldn't have to worry about anything happening in the Heavenly Empire. As for the lives of Heavenly Ocean Tyranny and His Highness, he would definitely take them. However, he was more concerned about how to restore the Moon Maiden to her human form. If he could reincarnate a step earlier, he definitely wouldn't want to delay it. Right now, the Heavenly Empire had the Wine Demon Sword, 9 Heavens Dream, and 9 Heavens Dew. Even if Heavenly Ocean Tyranny wanted to take revenge and His Highness wanted to take back his White Tiger Monarch throne, he would have to defeat them first. These two would probably choose to train hard. Who knows, they might meet again in the Black Tortoise continent soon. Ling Xiao didn't say these words out loud, but the experts of 9 Heavens Palace and Cold Plum weren't idiots. They could also guess. Master, I'll go with you to the Black Tortoise continent. Cold Plum said, No, your target is too obvious. Once you're discovered, this brat will suffer, unless the two of you enter the cycle of reincarnation together. The expert of Nine Heavens Palace said, "Senior is right. I'm a dead man now. As a dead man, I should keep a low profile. It's best if I act alone. Cold Plum, go back. However, don't tell anyone that I'm still alive. The more people know about this, the easier it is to be exposed. After you go back, take Long Chen with you to the Black Tortoise Continent. If the two of you choose to reincarnate, it's best to go there. Take your reincarnation seeds with you. This way, you can retain your current memories." Ling Xiao also said. Cold Plum pondered for a long time before nodding. "All right, master. I'll listen to you." She wasn't an unreasonable woman. As long as it was beneficial to Ling Xiao, she would definitely listen. "Next, I still have one more thing to do." Ling Xiao revealed a cold smile. "Black Tortoise Temple, it's time to bid farewell to the White Tiger Domain. This extreme lightning place will belong to Nine Heavens Palace in the future." At this moment, Black Tortoise Temple was in chaos. Without a rebirth realm martial artist presiding over the situation, everyone wanted to be the new leader. "Stop arguing. Let's think about how to kill Ling Xiao. That guy is cultivating in the extreme lightning place. It seems like he wants to fight against the demon will. It's best if we take this opportunity to eliminate him." Finally, someone spoke up. Everyone turned their heads to look and found that it was none other than Xian Feng who was held hostage by Ling Xiao. After Xian Feng was rescued, he had an unbearable memory. During those few days, he had nightmares every day. Every time, he would wake up in a nightmare. There was only one content in the dream, and that was being tortured by Ling Xiao. Originally, Xian Ming led the Black Tortoise Temple's experts to kill Ling Xiao. He thought that he had gotten his revenge. However, the news that came was that Ling Xiao had turned into a demon and killed Xian Ming and the others. Fortunately, Ling Xiao was now engulfed by the demon will and was very weak. As long as he took this opportunity to kill Ling Xiao, he could still get his revenge. Chapter 2087. Xian Feng fantasized about becoming the new leader of the Black Tortoise Temple. However, just as everyone was discussing, the entire Black Tortoise Temple suddenly shook. Terrifying divine lightning struck down one after another. Without the support of the rebirth realm cultivators, the Black Tortoise Temple's array was gradually shattered by the divine lightning. In the end, the temple began to crumble and collapse. A large number of Black Tortoise Temple cultivators were killed. Just as a large number of cultivators were being killed, the Black Tortoise Temple cultivators saw a 10-meter-tall demonic creature appear outside the Black Tortoise Temple. Huge demonic claws waved about, easily destroying the temple. "Ling Xiao! It's Ling Xiao! He's here for revenge!" Xian Feng shouted in horror. Countless cultivators screamed in horror. Unfortunately, there was no way to escape, and begging for mercy was useless. That demon clearly intended to destroy the entire Black Tortoise Temple, leaving no trace behind. At this time, the patriarchs of the 4 major families appeared. Although they did not belong to the Black Tortoise Temple, they were subordinates of the Black Tortoise Temple. How could they tolerate Ling Xiao's atrocious behavior? However, the moment they appeared, they were easily dealt with by a middle-aged woman in white. Although these 4 people were also rebirth realm cultivators, their strength was weaker than any of the venerables of the Black Tortoise Temple's 13 temples. Facing a rebirth realm 9th Heaven Palace cultivator, they stood no chance. This day was destined to be a tragedy for the Black Tortoise Temple, destined to be a day of bloodshed. The Black Tortoise Temple and the 4 major families, other than the old and weak, women and children who did not come out to fight, the rest of the cultivators who could fight were all slaughtered. This day was also designated by the Ling Long Palace as the temple's day of calamity. The Ling Long Palace swore in front of all the forces in the western region that they would capture the demon Ling Xiao and dismember him. However, according to the rumors, after Ling Xiao completely turned into a demon, the Night Devil King had already taken control of his body. Ling Xiao was no more than a walking corpse, It did not matter whether he was killed or not. The Night Devil King was too powerful. There might not be anyone in the Black Tortoise mainland who could restrain him, not to mention the White Tiger mainland. This matter was left unsettled. Of course, this was something that happened later. Right now, Ling Xiao was standing alone on the land of the Black Tortoise continent. This was a remote area of the Black Tortoise continent that was adjacent to the Storm Ocean. Ling Xiao found a very secluded place and set up a formation. He stored all the valuable items on his body and began to break through. Once he broke through, he would enter the cycle of reincarnation. Although the original martial techniques and memories would be brought along, the items couldn't be taken away. He could only hide everything for now. Given his array formation skills and the skills of a Yuan Venerate, no one in this remote place would be able to break the array formation he had set up. Sister Moon Maiden, let's reincarnate together. Although I don't know what you will become and who you will become, I will find you as soon as possible after reincarnating. Ling Xiao grabbed the pendant in his hand and said, I believe you. The Moon Lady trusted Ling Xiao as much as she trusted herself. The reason why she was willing to abandon her human form for Ling Xiao and return to her original form was because of this trust. Let's begin. Ling Xiao clutched the pendant tightly. He hoped that he and the Moon Maiden could be reincarnated to the same place. This way, it would be easier to find her. However, whether or not it was possible to do so was unknown. At the very least, he had to try. In a small town in the Black Tortoise continent, a young man was munching on melon seeds while watching the street performers amusing themselves with great interest. This Black Tortoise continent was indeed extraordinary. The people who performed tricks and sold their skills were actually all in the celestial realm. They were much more powerful than the martialists of the Sky Dragon continent of the past. The young man looked to be about 12 years old. He had delicate features and a cold expression. As he munched on melon seeds, he stared at the little girl performing. It's not her. After staring for a long time, he actually shook his head like an adult and sighed. He seemed very disappointed. This young man was none other than Ling Xiao, who had entered the cycle of reincarnation. His current appearance had been adjusted by him with the Yin-Yang Demon King's ability. No one could recognize him. He had just entered the cycle of reincarnation for 12 months, but he had already grown into a 12-year-old young man. This was the benefit of entering the cycle of reincarnation. Moreover, the family that he entered the cycle of reincarnation also had the surname Ling. Moreover, his name was Ling Xiao. This was not a coincidence. It was destined. As long as one entered the cycle of reincarnation, they would usually be reborn into a family with the same surname. Moreover, the parents would naturally give the child the same name as before. All of this was the effect of the laws. Even if this child could grow to be a year old in a month, no one would find it strange. This was because in the Black Tortoise continent, such a situation was very common. It was even considered normal. The reason why he stared at the girl just now was that he thought she was the reincarnation of the Moon Maiden. Unfortunately, she wasn't. He had been looking for the Moon Maiden since he was 6 months old. Now that he was 12 months old, he still couldn't find her. To be honest, this made him very anxious. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, a manservant rushed over recklessly and bumped into him. Little Fifth, what's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Ling Xiao got up from the ground and frowned as he looked at the servant and asked, In the past 12 months, in order to not let others think that he was special, he had been cultivating in secret. He did not display his strength and pretended to be an ordinary person. Once he had enough time, he could leave this place and look for the Moon Maiden. Not good, young master. Something happened. Something big happened. Old master, he was beaten to death. Little Fifth was the servant of Ling Xiao's new family. In the past 12 months, Little Fifth had been serving Ling Xiao, especially when Ling Xiao was unable to walk on his own. Little Fifth was the one who carried him. Therefore, the two of them had a very good relationship. Hearing that his father was dead, Ling Shao suddenly dropped all the melon seeds in his hand onto the ground. To be honest, he had never treated his father who had reincarnated as his father. It was only because he had retained his past memories that he felt a little awkward acknowledging someone else as his father. However, the moment he heard that his father had been beaten to death, he was stunned. His heart felt like it was being stabbed by something. His father was an alcoholic who was not very capable. However, he had become like this after his mother's death, so he could understand. Most people would be like this after being emotionally stimulated. However, some people would be able to stand up again, while others would be dispirited for the rest of their lives. It was true that his father was an alcoholic, but he had never beaten him when he was drunk. In fact, he treated him very well. Let's go. Let's go back. Ling Shao felt that the family matters after reincarnating had nothing to do with him. Chapter 2088. The town where Ling Shao was reincarnated was called Yuhua Town. It was rumored that an immortal had ascended here. There were two big families in Yuhua Town. One was the Chen family and the other was the Ling family. To put it bluntly, the Ling family was the local tyrant of Yuhua Town. They were even more powerful than the Ling family of Tianfeng City. Even the Chen family was inferior to them. Reincarnated into such a family, if it were an ordinary person, they would be glad. It was better than being born in an ordinary family. But Ling Shao didn't think so, because his father was just an adopted son of the Ling family. To put it nicely, he was an adopted son. To put it bluntly, he was just a little higher than a servant. In addition, his father's martial arts aptitude was quite low. He was only at the peak of the martial vein realm. This was simply unimaginable in the Black Tortoise continent. Although the martial artists of the Black Tortoise continent also had to start cultivating from the martial vein realm, whether it was the resources or the density of the world's spirit energy, the martial artists here could cultivate to the transcendent realm and celestial realm in a very short time. Even the Grotto Heaven realm and the Yin Yang realm were easy to advance. But there were some people with low aptitude who had cultivated for decades and were still in the martial vein realm. In the eyes of most people, they were simply trash. Ling Shao was once treated as trash, so he understood that trash generally didn't have a high status. But even so, he didn't expect that his father would be directly sent to a mine more than 10 miles away from the Ling family's ancestral home to work as a coolie. During that time, his mother was pregnant with him, a reincarnated person, but there was no one around to take care of her. His father was really worried, so he came back to take a look. As a result, he was discovered by the big shots in the family. They actually beat their mother to death, right in front of their father. He was extremely lucky to be born as a posthumous child. It was also because of this that his father was muddle-headed from then on, pretending to be crazy and drinking all day long. Finally, no one sent such a lunatic to the mine, and Ling Shao was taken good care of because of this. Outsiders thought that his father was a lunatic, but only he knew that his father wasn't stupid. He pretended to be crazy and even drunk in order to take care of his son. That's why he didn't blame this drunkard. He also thought of bringing this drunkard to the heavenly empire in the future and let him enjoy life. But how did that drunkard die today? And he was beaten to death by someone? The more Ling Shao thought about it, the angrier he got. Originally, he had only planned to peacefully get through this transition period and then leave with his father. But unexpectedly, the peaceful days were still broken. First, his mother had died, and now his father had died. Although they were only his parents who had reincarnated, they were still related by blood. If he didn't take revenge for this, wouldn't he, Ling Shao, be a man in vain? The guards outside the gates of the Ling family coldly looked at Ling Shao. He stopped him and little Fifth outside the door. Have you forgotten the rules so quickly? Give me the money. The reason the guard stopped Ling Shao was because every time Ling Shao entered the Ling residence, he had to give them a tip before they would open the door or let him in. Otherwise, they wouldn't even put this young master in their eyes. Scram! I'm in a bad mood today. Ling Shao was indeed in a bad mood, very bad. He couldn't find the Moon Lady, and his parents were dead. How could he be in a good mood? Oh my, you've grown a temper. Little brat, Do you really think you're a young master? One of the guards directly grabbed Ling Xiao's collar and pulled him up. He shouted, "When your father was still alive, we didn't treat you as a young master. Now that your father is dead, you still dare to be so arrogant. Do you want to die? I'm courting death. Do you dare to do anything to me?" Ling Xiao's cold eyes revealed a hint of killing intent. This killing intent was very similar to Ling Xiao's before he reincarnated. It was just that it wasn't as strong. "Humph, even if we don't dare to kill you, no one will stop us from beating you up." In the end, the guards didn't dare to kill Ling Xiao. After all, Ling Xiao was still the young master of the Ling family in name, and they were just servants. As he spoke, one of the guards directly raised his leg and kicked Ling Xiao. "Gotcha!" Ouch. But this time, Ling Xiao didn't plan to hide his strength anymore. It was too painful to hide his strength. It had been 12 months, and he had been looked down upon everywhere. Today, he couldn't even go to see his father die. How could he endure it? His body was the body of the mystic world. Although he was in the black tortoise mainland and wasn't as strong as in the heavenly empire, he was only at the first level of the mystic world. However, the guard in front of him was only a first-order, transcendent realm cultivator, while he had already restored his cultivation to the heaven realm in just 12 months. For a first transition cultivator, the heaven realm was divided into 4 stages: low, middle, high, and peak. There was no need to go through the complicated cultivation stages. The low stage was equivalent to an ordinary cultivator at the peak of the 3rd layer. The middle stage was the peak of the 6th layer. The high stage was the peak of the 9th layer, and the peak stage was the half-step paradise realm. The same was true for the martial vein realm and transcendent realm. There was a huge difference between a first transition cultivator and an ordinary cultivator. Every time he broke through, he would be much faster than ordinary warriors. He was a dignified heaven realm cultivator. Although he was only at the low stage, it would be strange if a trivial transcendent realm cultivator didn't break his bones. "Little brat, what are you doing?" The other guard became anxious and directly pulled out the long sword at his waist to stab at him. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he dodged the opponent's sword and stabbed it into the guard's throat. The guard died on the spot. Coldly looking at the other guard, who was almost scared silly, Ling Xiao said, "Normally, I don't want to bother with you, but do you really think I, Ling Xiao, am easy to bully? He was killed because he used his sword. You were lucky you only used your foot to kick me, so you broke a leg. Little Fifth, let's go." After saying this, Ling Xiao no longer paid attention to the guard and called out to the stunned little Fifth before stepping into the Ling family's courtyard. The Ling family's courtyard was bigger than the Ling family's in Tianfeng City, and the decorations inside were more exquisite. After all, this was the Black Tortoise Continent. It seemed that, in terms of quality, everything was higher than the Sky Dragon Continent. Just as he stepped through the door, a dozen people suddenly chased after him. One of them was dressed gorgeously. He was the son of the Ling family's eldest son, his cousin. This person was called Ling Bei, 18 years old. The person standing next to Ling Bei had a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks. He had a cunning face and was a relative of Ling Bei's mother. His name was Huang Wu, 17 years old, 1 year younger than Ling Bei, but the gap in strength was huge. The others were all Ling Bei's lackeys. This Ling Bei relied on his identity as the eldest grandson to put on airs in the family. Towards people like Ling Xiao, he naturally bullied him a few times to show off his nobility. In the past, Ling Xiao was not interested in fighting with him because he felt it was too boring. Chapter 2089. Ling Xiao had originally planned to quietly pass this period of reincarnation. After his cultivation recovered, he would leave this place. He would not offend anyone and would not be in the limelight. However, when news of his father's death came, he did not want to endure anymore. He, Ling Xiao, had never endured before. He had fought and killed his way here. He had had enough of such a tortoise-like life. He was the celestial emperor of the celestial empire. Now he was being bullied by trash from this small Yuhua town. How could he endure this? It was not wrong to say that Ling Bei was trash. This guy was already 18 years old. Most of the young warriors in the big cities of the Black Tortoise continent had already entered the Yin Yang realm at this age. However, the warriors in this small town were too weak. They were only in the heaven realm. They had cultivated for 18 years, which was not even comparable to him cultivating for 12 months. As for Huang Wu, there was no need to mention him. He was a big piece of trash. Perhaps his standards were too high. After all, Ling Xiao had participated in the White Tiger meet. He had met many people there, even if they were his enemies, which one of them was not more talented than these two pieces of trash. However, even so, these two pieces of trash, especially Ling Bei, were praised as the geniuses of Yuhua town. Ling Xiao wanted to laugh. It turned out that in this small town, geniuses were actually so worthless. Ling Bei's men blocked Ling Xiao. Then he walked out of the crowd and looked at Ling Xiao mockingly. "Kid, your drunkard father is dead. Have you also gone crazy? You even dare to kill our Ling family's guards?" In Ling Xiao's eyes, Ling Bei was trash. However, in Yuhua town, Ling Bei was considered a genius in the eyes of others. Thus, it was normal for this person to be arrogant. However, he should not have been so sarcastic after Ling Xiao's father had died. A watchdog wants to kill its master. Can't I kill this dog? Ling Xiao looked at Ling Bei coldly. Killing intent had already risen in his heart. Although his cultivation had yet to recover, a first revolution Heaven Realm martial artist was much stronger than an ordinary Heaven Realm martial artist. In his eyes, Ling Bei was nothing more than a bug that could be easily squashed to death. He didn't make a move immediately because the other party didn't make a move either. Even if he is a dog, he belongs to the Ling family. You are just the son of an adopted son. What right do you have to kill him? Ling Bei looked down at Ling Xiao condescendingly, as if he had already become the patriarch of the Ling family. Even if I did, what are you going to do about it? Don't tell me you want to take revenge for killing your son? If it were any other time, Ling Xiao really couldn't be bothered to argue with this trash. But today he was in a bad mood. Not good at all. How dare you? Beat him up. Ling Bei was probably used to being arrogant. When he heard that Ling Xiao's attitude was not good, he immediately waved his hand. His lackeys immediately surrounded Ling Xiao and attacked him. They wanted to beat him up. Beat him as hard as you can. It doesn't matter even if he dies. Just like his alcoholic father, no one will care even if he dies. Ling Bei shouted loudly. Hearing this, Ling Xiao couldn't help but frown. He lightly stepped on the ground, and a vigorous force was injected into the ground. Then it rushed out and sent the lackeys flying. At the same time, he rushed forward and grabbed Ling Bei's collar. Although he was only 12 months old, he was as tall as a 12-year-old. Moreover, he was taller than the average child. It wasn't impossible for him to grab Ling Bei's collar. It just wasn't as smooth as before. Did you kill my father? A cold killing intent appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes. Although he tried his best not to use his previous martial techniques in order to hide his identity, the power of the Heaven-Earth Queen was not a problem at all. This was a part of his body's strength. Others wouldn't be able to tell. You, what do you want? Ling Bei was shocked. He never thought that this unknown kid would be so strong. Answer my question, or I will kill you too. Ling Xiao said coldly. When Huang Wu saw this scene, he was also shocked. He stared blankly at this kid who didn't even talk much. He couldn't understand how this guy could be so strong. Even if he was a cultivator who had entered the reincarnation realm, he shouldn't have improved so quickly. It had only been 12 months. It wasn't me. I really didn't kill him. Ling Bei was so scared that he shook his head hurriedly. You know my character. I can teach people a lesson or bully them, but I really don't dare to kill. Humph. You better not let me find out that my father's death is related to you. Otherwise, your whole family will die. Ling Xiao wasn't exaggerating. He could even destroy the Black Tortoise Temple. He really didn't care about destroying the Ling family. Although he wasn't consumed by the demonic will, His way of thinking was still affected by it. He wouldn't hesitate at all when it came to killing. After leaving Ling Bei behind, Ling Xiao walked forward with little Wu, who was shocked again. The surrounding maids and servants all looked at him blankly. Young Master Ling Xiao, who was weak and easy to bully and didn't even talk much, became so powerful today. However, he offended young Master Bei and would probably attract trouble. Young Master Bei's elder brother, Ling Wan Sui, was a disciple of the Black Snake Demon sect. Although he was only an outer disciple, his cultivation was much stronger than Ling Bei's. Ling Xiao was still so young. He might not be a match for him. The maids and servants weren't all bullies. Some of them actually sympathized with Ling Xiao's experience. However, they didn't dare to speak carelessly as they were servants. They could only criticize in their hearts. Ling Xiao's father had a very ordinary name, Ling Tai. This name was given by the Ling family's old master. Being bestowed with the surname Ling was originally a glorious thing, but because of his poor aptitude, he was reduced to being beaten to death in his own home. How sad! Ling Xiao was walking forward when he suddenly saw a few people carrying a mat. The person inside the mat was his father, Ling Tai. There was a strong smell of alcohol on Ling Tai's body. However, Ling Xiao could still smell a hint of a woman's fragrance amidst the smell. His father, Ling Tai, had never touched a woman since he was born. Where did this fragrance come from? Ling Xiao frowned and stopped the few people. Put him down. Young Master Ling Xiao, old master has instructed us to quickly dispose of this corpse. The weather is hot now and we are afraid of a plague. The leader of the servants looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, although he still called him young master, there was no respect on his face. Perhaps in their eyes, Ling Xiao didn't need to be respected. I told you to put him down. Did you not hear me, or do you refuse to listen? The anger in Ling Xiao's heart could no longer be contained. What did they mean by they were afraid of a plague? So they just used the mat to dispose of the corpse. Chapter 2090. From Ling Xiao's point of view, no matter how bad his father was, he was still grandfather Ling's adopted son. He rolled up the mat and threw it away. Not only was this too much, but it was also a slap to grandfather Ling's face. What was the eldest son of the Ling family trying to do? Let's go! That group of people didn't take Ling Xiao's warning to heart. Seeing that they couldn't persuade him, they simply wanted to leave. Ling Xiao didn't plan to waste any more words and directly attacked. The 4 servants who were carrying the mat were knocked down by him with a single punch. Then he carried the mat and walked to the only coffin shop in Yuhua town and bought a good coffin. Since he couldn't protect his father, then he would bury him with dignity. Fortunately, he had refined some simple elixirs and sold them for money in the past few months. A coffin wasn't a problem. After buying the coffin, Ling Xiao got a carriage and drove to the Ling family's graveyard. The Ling family's graveyard was a place where only members of the Ling family had the right to be buried. His father had said that his greatest wish was to be recognized by the Ling family and be buried in the Ling family's ancestral hall after he died. Although such a dream was a little laughable and silly, the dead couldn't be revived. However, the dead could not be brought back to life, so Ling Xiao still intended to fulfill his wish. The Ling family's graveyard was guarded all year round. The scenery here was beautiful and the feng shui was excellent. Also, it was cleaned frequently, so not only was it clean, but the person buried there would also be comfortable. Ling Xiao didn't care about the guards and directly drove the carriage inside. The guards wanted to stop him, but he was sent flying with his horsewhip. His father couldn't enjoy the Ling family's wealth when he was alive, but couldn't he be buried in the Ling family's graveyard after he died? He definitely wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. Glancing coldly at the guards, he went into the graveyard, found a secluded corner, and started digging the grave. As for the tombstone, he planned to carve it himself. Anyway, there were huge rocks everywhere on this mountain. With his strength, carving a tombstone was a piece of cake. When the grave was dug, Ling Xiao put the coffin down. Suddenly, he felt his eyes moisten. He originally thought that he wouldn't be too sad. After all, a rebirth realm warrior had to reincarnate 10 times. It could be said that he would meet 10 parents at this stage. Therefore, most of their feelings weren't deep. Ling Xiao thought that he was the same and only treated this man as his benefactor. But he was wrong. Even if he had reincarnated into the mortal world, his father was still his father. His body still had this man's blood. He lay on the coffin and cried quietly for a while. He felt a sense of loss in his heart, as if he had lost something very important. He felt as if a piece of flesh had been directly gouged out of his heart. That kind of pain was unbearable. I'm such a bastard. As Ling Xiao spoke, he slapped himself. Thinking back to what had happened in the past 12 months, he realized that he had never called this man father or father. How sorrowful this man must be in his heart. It was fine if others looked down on him, but even his own son looked down on him. How could he be happy? Unfortunately, it was too late to regret. The only thing Ling Xiao could do now was to bury his father properly and send his memorial tablet to the Ling family's ancestral hall. Bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, a strange sound rang out. It was as if something was knocking on the coffin. Ling Xiao stopped crying in confusion and looked at the coffin. Tai Chi Eye. After activating the Tai Chi Eye, Ling Xiao saw that Ling Tai had opened his eyes. He was still alive? Ling Xiao hurriedly slapped open the lid of the coffin and saw Ling Tai suddenly sit up from the coffin. Oh my God, I'm suffocating. Son, your father is only at the martial vein realm. If I don't breathe for a long time, I'll really suffocate to death, Ling Tai said while panting. Ling Xiao's expression suddenly became extremely surprised. Father, you're not dead? What did you just call me? Ling Tai was stunned for a moment. His precious son had never called him that before. Father, I was wrong in the past. It's good that you're alive. I'm a martial artist who's reincarnated. In the future, no matter who dares to bully you, I'll kill him, Ling Xiao said very seriously. However, the excited expression on his face didn't disappear. The fact that his father had come back to life was a huge surprise to him. Sigh, since you can call me father, I can die without regrets. Ling Tai sighed helplessly. Although a martial artist who's reincarnated is strong, don't forget that this is the Black Tortoise Continent. In the Black Tortoise Continent, there are many rebirth realm martial artists. Many young geniuses are actually rank 1, rank 2, and rank 3 martial artists. No matter what you were like in the past, I hope you can continue to keep a low profile. Ling Xiao nodded noncommittally. Although he admitted that Ling Tai's words were right, he, Ling Xiao, was not a coward. In these 12 months, he was about to suffocate to death. If he were to endure it any longer, he might as well kill himself. Forget it. You have your own path to walk. I was just saying that for fun. This is just the final radiance of the setting sun. I'm holding my breath and waiting to say a few words to you. Ling Tai sighed. He seemed a little sad. His son was just willing to call him father, and he was about to leave. He was really helpless. Father, what's wrong with you? Ling Xiao asked. I used to be a pharmacist. Maybe I can help you. Sigh, when your father was at the peak of the martial vein realm, I was poisoned. That's why my cultivation stagnated at that time. Otherwise, your father would be a rebirth realm martial artist now. Why do you think your grandfather took me in as his adopted son? It's because my aptitude was really good at that time. Ling Tai sighed. Hearing this, Ling Xiao grabbed Ling Tai's hand and felt his pulse. After a moment, he couldn't help but reveal a look of astonishment. Father, this is the poison of the cultivation dissipation powder. Although it can't kill people, it can make their cultivation stagnate forever. It's just that this cultivation dissipation powder is a top black grade elixir. It's extremely difficult to refine. You were only a martial vein realm martial artist back then. Why would someone do this to you? Which is the biggest force in the Black Tortoise Continent? Ling Tai didn't answer Ling Zhao's question. Instead, he asked, "Of course, it's the Eternal Life Palace in the Central Region." Ling Xiao replied, "The Eternal Life Palace was located in the Central Region of the Black Tortoise Continent. It was definitely the largest and most tyrannical force in the Black Tortoise Continent." Chapter 2091. Yes, I'm afraid you don't know. Your father is the young palace, Lord of the Eternal Palace. Because I have no intention of becoming the Palace Lord, I withdrew from the competition. However, there were still people who refused to let me go. They used the cultivation dissipation powder on me and wanted to kill me. I was saved by your mother. Later on, I was fancied by the Ling clan's old master and became his adopted son. Unfortunately, he didn't know my identity at that time. He didn't even know that I was poisoned by the cultivation dissipation powder. Ling Tai smiled bitterly and said, "I'm telling you this not because I want you to take revenge, but to let you know the origin of the cultivation dissipation powder. Also, be careful of the people from the Eternal Palace." Ling Xiao listened to these words and was a little dumbfounded. He had always thought that this guy was a drunkard, but he was actually the young palace lord of the Black Tortoise Continent. Father also had a glorious moment in the past. I was also domineering and frivolous, but I was still plotted against in the end. I hope you don't follow in my footsteps. Ling Tai said helplessly, "I'm dying." Finally, I'll tell you the most important thing. I left an item in the Ling clan's martial arts hall. You have to find a way to get it back. It is a set of the Eternal Palace's secret technique, Eternal Seal. It doesn't matter even if you cultivated other martial arts in the past. I reckon that you want to hide your identity. That Eternal Seal can completely hide your previous identity. Until you recover your cultivation, you can still use it. Father, Ling Xiao lamented in his heart. Compared to the Eternal Seal, he cared more about his father's life. It was a pity that he had already checked his father's internal organs just now. His father's cultivation was so low that it was impossible for him to survive. Once again, he felt his own powerlessness. Child, don't be sad. Cultivate well after you find the Eternal Seal. No matter who you were in the past or what you did in the past, I still want to tell you a truth before I die. The weak are prey to the strong. There is no fairness in this world. If you don't have the strength, even dogs will look down on you. Ling Tai was relieved. To be able to give birth to such a son after suffering so much torture, his life was worth it. Father, Ling Xiao didn't know what to say to comfort Ling Tai, because at this moment any words would seem so empty and weak. Good child, don't be sad. I almost forgot to tell you. In the Ling clan, in order to enter the martial arts hall, one's cultivation must reach a certain level. However, that takes too long. There's an opportunity right now. You must seize it, just like many other great clans. The Ling clan's annual meeting would also have a martial arts competition. The final winner would be able to choose any martial arts from the martial arts hall. At that time, they would be able to obtain the Seal of Eternity. My blood flows in your body, so the Seal of Immortality will take the initiative to find you, so you don't have to worry about not being able to find it. Ling Tai gently patted Ling Zhao's shoulder as a happy smile appeared on his face. Father, who hurt you? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Child, don't ask anymore. My enemy is more powerful than you think. Ling Tai shook his head and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He bitterly smiled and said, "The King of Hell has come to haunt me. I have to go. Don't think about revenge." As he spoke, Ling Tai's eyes gradually closed. Finally, he stopped breathing. Ling Xiao quietly hugged his father's corpse, his body slightly trembling. He knew why his father didn't tell him about the enemy. It was because he was afraid that something would happen to him when he went to seek revenge. The cheapskate father in his heart actually had such deep feelings for him. This enmity, he had to take revenge. It didn't matter if his father didn't tell him. He would find out. No matter who it was, he would kill them. And the palace lord of the Eternal Palace, the culprit who used the cultivation dissipation powder to cripple his father's cultivation and caused his father to suffer a lifetime of tragedy, must also die. With such a goal, Ling Zhao's motivation to cultivate was even greater. Father, rest in peace. If you can't finish it, I will help you finish it. Ling Xiao placed Ling Tai back into the coffin. After thinking for a while, he put an ice spirit jade in Ling Tai's mouth. He had obtained this ice spirit jade from that idiot Ling Bei. When he was teaching that idiot a lesson, he discovered that he had a rare ice spirit jade on him. If the ice spirit jade was placed on a martial artist, it would have a calming effect. During cultivation, it would ensure that the martial artist wouldn't go berserk. If it was placed in the mouth of a dead person, it would ensure that the corpse wouldn't rot. Moreover, it could even lock the soul inside. He didn't want Ling Tai to die like this. There would be a day when he would come back and save Ling Tai. But now he didn't have that ability. After covering the coffin again, Ling Xiao set up a formation on the coffin to prevent others from damaging it. After that, he set up another formation to cover the soil. Then he placed the tombstone on top of the coffin and used the same formation to protect it. No one would have thought that a mere Ling Tai's coffin would be protected by dozens of formations and formations. One had to know that even the Ling family's patriarch in the cemetery only had 2 layers of protection. Father, have a safe journey. Ling Xiao stood up. Just as he was about to leave, he saw a group of people rushing over. At the head of the group was the eldest son of the Ling family, Ling Tianxiong. Ling Bei was also by his side, along with many fierce-looking servants. Take him down and destroy that piece of trash's coffin. He doesn't deserve to be buried here. Ling Tianxiong glared at Ling Xiao and gave the order. I'll kill anyone who dares to touch my father's coffin. Ling Xiao stared coldly at Ling Tianxiong, his eyes filled with killing intent. Ling Tianxiong wasn't weak, but he was only in the Grotto Heaven realm. Truth be told, martial artists of this level weren't a threat to him in the past. Even now, if he used the Night Devil Flower, he could definitely kill Ling Tianxiong. Not a single person would be left alive. Of course, he would also be severely injured. After all, the Night Devil Flower was a consummate skill of the profound meaning of shadows that he had learned when he was in the 18th level of life seizing. But as long as he didn't die, he didn't care. Don't worry about him. Go. How could Ling Tianxiong care about Ling Zhao's threat? He waved his hand and ordered his servants to destroy the coffin. Ling Xiao looked at them coldly and didn't make a move immediately. He had set up formations on his father's coffin, and one of them was the Lesser Thousand Lightnings formation. There was also the Pestilence Bone formation and the Thousand Beasts' Blood refining formation. The deaths of these people would only make these formations stronger. Crack! Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck one of the servants. The servant slammed into the tombstone and blood oozed out. Then he was sucked into the Thousand Beasts' Blood refining formation. Crack! Boom! The Lesser Thousand Lightnings formation continued to release lightning bolts, each more terrifying than the last. As more and more servants died, the power of the lightning became more and more terrifying. Furthermore, every dead servant would discover that their internal energy seemed to have been sucked away by something. Chapter 2092. Stop! Ling Tianxiong shouted. In this short period of time, 7 or 8 of the servants he had brought with him had already died. These were all his most trusted henchmen. Brat, what did you do? Ling Tianxiong roared. It's unfortunate, Ling Tianxiong. Before I reincarnated, I was an expert in arrays. I just set up a few arrays. Ling Xiao said calmly. Arrays? Ling Tianxiong frowned. What kind of powerful arrays can you set up? He didn't seem to believe in heresy. He jumped off his horse and walked towards Ling Tai's tomb. However, when he was 4 or 5 steps away from the tomb, his expression changed. Perhaps it was because his cultivation was higher than the servants. He could feel that his inner strength was being sucked away by something. It was very uncomfortable. Poison! Ling Tianxiong quickly retreated and tried to expel the poison. That's not a simple poison. It's a plague. Ling Tianxiong, take your time. I'll go back first. Ling Xiao smiled coldly. These people had no ability to break the array anyway. It didn't matter if he was there or not. Using his light body technique, he scuttled into the dense forest and disappeared in an instant. He could use the light, flash, godly technique in a place with no one around. It was much faster than a carriage. It was still early when he returned to his residence. He didn't stay in the Ling residence. Firstly, he didn't have the right. After all, Ling Tai was just a useless foster son. The old man of the Ling family had left him to fend for himself. Secondly, they didn't want to trouble him. Anyway, Ling Xiao could make money from alchemy. He didn't have to worry about not being able to buy a house. Back in the house, Ling Xiao laid on his bed and looked at the ceiling. He was thinking about his future plans. If he wanted to recover his cultivation to the rebirth realm, he needed more resources. Although he looked down on the Ling family now, the Ling family's resources were really strong in Yuhua Town. The Ling clan had to be under his control. Only then would he be able to cultivate faster and avenge his father better. Who's there? As he was thinking about these things, light footsteps came from outside the door. Ling Xiao looked at the window immediately. Whoosh, whoosh! 2 rays of cold light shot in from the window. Ling Xiao's figure flashed and easily knocked away the 2 cold lights. At the same time, he pounced forward. Outside the door, 2 black shadows pounced at him, holding sharp blades in their hands. Your cultivation is not bad, but it's a pity that you're still too inexperienced to kill me. These 2 assassins were both Celestial Realm martial artists who had reached around the 6th level of the Celestial Realm. But so what? Ling Xiao was a first revolution heaven tier martial artist. He was much stronger than them. Without using any weapons, Ling Xiao threw out a punch. The power of the Royal Heaven Queen of Earth burst forth from his fist and collided with one of the sharp blades, deflecting the blade back. Pucci! One of the men in black was stabbed to death on the spot. When the other person saw that the situation was not good, he turned around and ran. But how could Ling Xiao give him the chance to escape? The darkness of the night was most suitable for shadow children to move about. Since it was nighttime, it wouldn't hurt to reveal a little bit of shadow profound meaning. The cold shadow children stretched out their claws from the darkness and imprisoned the man on the ground. Speak. Who sent you here? Ling Xiao stepped on the man's body and asked coldly. Ha ha ha, I won't tell you. If you kill us today, there will be stronger people coming to deal with you tomorrow. You're dead meat. The assassin's character was tough enough. After saying this, he crushed the poison sac in his teeth and died instantly. I wonder if these people killed my father, Ling Tai. Why are they looking for me? Ling Xiao let go of his foot and waved his hand. The pitch-black flames burned the 2 corpses clean. Looks like I can't continue to stay here. This assassin is right. Maybe I can deal with Celestial Realm martial artists. But once I encounter Grotto Heaven Realm martial artists, it'll be troublesome. Ling Xiao returned to his room and immediately packed his things, preparing to return to the Ling family. Although his father was dead, he was still a member of the Ling family. As long as he showed a certain level of talent, he believed that the upper echelons of the Ling family would give him a chance to live there. Speaking of which, wasn't the reason why grandfather Ling took in his father, Ling Tai, back then because of Ling Tai's talent? In Ling Xiao's opinion, the assassins today couldn't have been done by the Ling family. If the Ling family wanted to kill him, they didn't have to be so sneaky. Their shamelessness was above board. If Ling Tianxiong or Ling Bei wanted to kill him, they would have done so directly in the Ling family. Spending so much effort to hire assassins was a complete waste of money. Moreover, he had seen the 2 assassins. They were unfamiliar faces. At least, he had never seen them in the Ling family. Although this was just a guess, Ling Xiao believed that the 2 assassins came from outside. His father's death was probably closely related to these people. Just you wait. I'll find you sooner or later. Looking at the house that he had lived in for a few months, Ling Xiao was a little reluctant to leave. Although he lived outside with his father and didn't have anyone to take care of him, it was still good that he didn't have to suffer. After returning to the Ling family, there would probably be a lot of trouble. However, Ling Xiao had nothing to fear. He had even conquered the Sky Dragon continent, the Divine Phoenix continent, and the White Tiger continent. How could he shrink back from a mere Yuhua town's Ling family? Turning around, Ling Xiao hurriedly left and arrived at the Ling family. The guards had been changed, and their attitude towards him was obviously not as arrogant as before. A person's status and face were fought for with strength. Even the servants thought so in their hearts. He directly entered the Ling family's courtyard and walked towards Grandfather Ling's central courtyard. The Ling family's courtyard was divided into 5 courtyards: east, west, north, south, and central. It was similar to the Black Tortoise continent. The central courtyard was where the Ling family's patriarch, Grandfather Ling, lived. Ling Xiao had been here before, so he was familiar with the place. Just as he was about to step into Grandfather Ling's residence, he was stopped once again. However, this time, an old voice came from inside the house. "Let him in." That voice belonged to Ling family's patriarch, Ling Yuhua. Ling Xiao stepped into the house and realized that not only was Ling Yuhua there, but also Ling Tianxiong, who was poisoned by the plague. He sneered, looked at Ling Yuhua, and said, "Grandfather, give me a house." "A house? That's right. I want to live in a place similar to Ling Bei's so that I can focus on my cultivation." Ling Xiao went straight to the point. "You think you can compare to Bei?" Ling Tianxiong mocked. "You should worry about your plague poison. It's not easy to cure." Ling Xiao looked coldly at Ling Tianxiong, then looked at Ling Yuhua and said, "Even that trash Ling Bei can have his own courtyard. I'm 10 times stronger than him. Why can't I have mine?" Chapter 2093. Ling Yuhua agreed to prepare a small courtyard for Ling Xiao, but he wanted Ling Xiao to agree to 2 conditions. "Say it," Ling Xiao said. "First, detoxify your uncle." "No problem. Anyway, Ling Xiao did not intend to poison Ling Tianxiong to death with the plague. Although the plague was powerful, Ling Tianxiong would be able to detoxify it sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. Second, you have to defeat Huang Wu, and you cannot use more than 3 moves. Ling Yuhua said again. Sure, Huang Wu was even more useless than Ling Bei. Let alone 3 moves. Ling Xiao could finish him off in 1 move. He believed that Ling Yuhua was only doing this to test his aptitude. If his aptitude was good, Ling Yuhua would nurture him with all his might. If not, Ling Yuhua would abandon him. This old man was still so cold and heartless. After agreeing to Ling Yuhua's 2 conditions, Ling Xiao immediately detoxified Ling Tianxiong. To detoxify the plague in Ling Tianxiong's body, he only needed a special elixir pill. When the detoxification was completed, Huang Wu arrived. "Let's begin. Huang Wu, use all your strength. It doesn't matter even if you kill him," Ling Yuhua said plainly. "Yes, clan leader." Hearing Ling Yuhua's words, Huang Wu's eyes lit up, revealing a strong murderous intent. Huang Wu was taught a lesson by Ling Xiao earlier today. Later on, he received a treasure from Ling Tianxiong. It was specially made to deal with Ling Xiao. Therefore, he was confident that he could kill Ling Xiao here. Admittedly, the 2 of them didn't have any deep hatred, but he just couldn't bear to see this previously unknown kid suddenly become so arrogant and high-profile. He wanted to nip this bud in the bud. Vajra shield. Huang Wu immediately used the treasure that Ling Tianxiong gave him. It was a treasure shield made of Vajra. After it was used, martial artists below the Grotto Heaven realm would not be able to destroy it. Moreover, the Vajra shield had barbs. The fiercer the enemy's attack, the more damage he would suffer. Therefore, he believed that he was in an invincible position. When Ling Xiao was tired and covered in wounds, he would suddenly launch a counterattack. He would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao. With a perfect plan in mind, Huang Wu hooked his finger at Ling Xiao and said, "Come on, you drunkard son. Let's see if you can break through my defense first before bragging about your strength." The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled into a disapproving smile. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body. Then he lightly stepped on the ground, and the ground actually cracked open. His body shot out explosively. "Idiot! How dare you be so careless in front of the Vajra shield? You're really courting death." Ling Tianxiong looked at Ling Xiao and sneered disdainfully. He was worried that Ling Xiao would not dare to make a move after seeing the Vajra shield. But now it seemed that Ling Xiao was just an idiot. His worry was unnecessary. "The fiercer your attack, the faster you'll die. Hurry up and die. How dare you compare yourself to our Bei? You don't know your place." Boom! In the next moment, Ling Tianxiong suddenly stood up, because he saw an unbelievable scene. One punch. Just one punch. Not only did Ling Xiao completely destroy the Vajra shield, but he also knocked Huang Wu unconscious. Ling Yuhua, who was sitting there, was also surprised. In fact, in the Black Tortoise mainland, every family could have a martial artist who had entered the samsara. For example, the Ling family had 3 martial artists who had entered the samsara. The Chen family, which was as famous as them, also had 3. However, many of the martial artists who had entered the samsara did not have a solid foundation or did not have the seed of samsara. This caused their cultivation to not improve quickly after entering the samsara. This was also the meaning of the risk of entering the samsara. Previously, Ling Xiao had not shown his strength. He thought that Ling Xiao was just a good-for-nothing. Therefore, he did not care or love Ling Xiao at all. However, today he suddenly realized that he might have been wrong. This kid was too strong. In 12 months, he could easily defeat a celestial realm martial artist. With such strength, if he continued to develop, he would definitely become the pillar of the Ling family. He was not afraid that Ling Xiao would hate him, as long as the Ling family could continue to develop. Even if Ling Xiao killed him and replaced him, he would not care, because he, Ling Yuhua, was such a person. Clansmen without talent and strength, their existence was a crime. This was his philosophy. Very good. Ling Yuhua clapped his hands and said, "Old He, take Ling Xiao down and arrange a small courtyard for him that is of the same grade as Bei's. Also, provide him with maids and servants. In the future, his cultivation resources will be on par with Bei's." "Father, you can't do this. Bei is your grandson. This kid is Ling Tai's son. Ling Tai is only your adopted son. Moreover, you did not treat Ling Tai well in the past. He will definitely hold a grudge." When Ling Tianxiong heard this, he naturally felt uncomfortable and hurriedly shouted at Ling Yuhua. "It is normal for him to hate me. If he has the ability to kill me, then let him. The Ling family patriarch has always been the strongest in the family." Ling Yuhua looked at Ling Tianxiong and said. Then he looked at Ling Xiao and said, "You really want to know who killed your father, right? As long as you can get first place in this year's annual assembly, I will tell you. I will investigate my father's murder myself. However, I have another request." Ling Xiao said, "Speak." "I hope that if I get first place in the annual assembly, my father Ling Tai and my mother's memorial tablets can be placed in the Ling family ancestral hall." Ling Xiao said calmly, "Presumptuous. Are they worthy?" Ling Tianxiong scolded. "I am asking the patriarch. Do you want to replace the patriarch?" Ling Xiao looked at Ling Tianxiong coldly. His words shocked Ling Tianxiong. He quickly explained to Ling Yuhua. Ling Yuhua interrupted him and said to Ling Xiao, "As long as you can get first place in the annual assembly, not only will your parents enter the ancestral hall, but you will also be one of the heirs of the Ling family. Your status will be equivalent to my son's. You are very realistic. All right, it's a deal." Ling Xiao felt that Ling Yuhua was extreme. However, he had to admit that such a person was easy to get along with. At least he did not have to worry about being schemed against. He turned and left with Old He. They moved into a small courtyard that had been renovated. There were flowers and plants, as well as a rockery and a pond. It was much better than the house he used to live in. Most importantly, the maids, servants, and guards were all arranged by the patriarch himself. As long as he did not leave this place, his safety would not be a problem. Little Fifth, you will be the housekeeper of this courtyard from now on. If anyone dares to disobey you, tell me. Ling Xiao trusted Little Fifth very much, although this person was a little honest. But in the most difficult time of their family, he still didn't abandon them. Where else could they find such a servant? Thus, he gave Little Fifth the greatest authority and helped Little Fifth cleanse his marrow and bones, allowing Little Fifth's cultivation to improve greatly. Chapter 2094. After moving into the new courtyard, Ling Xiao did not stay idle. Instead, he went to the Ling family's martial arts hall. His purpose was obviously to find a martial technique that he could use temporarily. Since he wanted to hide his identity now, he could not use his previous martial techniques casually. He was a member of the Ling family in Yuhua town. Naturally, he had to learn some martial techniques from the Ling family. According to the Ling family's rules, if one wanted to enter the martial arts hall, one had to be at least at the transcendent realm. Martial vein realm martial artists were no different from ordinary people in the Black Tortoise continent. The martial techniques they used could be bought on the streets. Ling Xiao was already a first revolution heaven realm martial artist. Entering the martial arts hall was not a problem at all. However, he only wanted to recover his strength before leaving. He did not have the thought of staying to avenge his father. Therefore, he did not step into the martial arts hall. Along the way, the servants of the Ling family naturally talked about him. He had caused quite a ruckus today. He killed the guards, beat up Ling Bei, and hid his father in the Ling family's cemetery. This series of events was really surprising. After all, in the past 12 months, although he was a reincarnation realm martial artist, he had never shown his strength. Ling Xiao, stop right there. Therefore, living in the Ling family was troublesome. There were always flies pestering him. Just as Ling Xiao was about to step into the martial arts hall, he was stopped by Ling Bei. This guy felt that he had not suffered enough from the last time. He actually came to find trouble with him again. However, he had his own things to do now. He could not be bothered with this guy. Directly bypassing Ling Bei, he walked straight into the martial arts hall. However, Ling Bei recklessly mocked behind his back. Ling Xiao, I heard that you buried your drunkard father in the Ling family's cemetery today. My father is magnanimous and did not argue with you. He said that burying a dog in the ancestral cemetery can be considered as a guard. Haha, Ling Xiao, don't you think so? You are really courting death. Ling Xiao suddenly stopped in his tracks and looked coldly at Ling Bei. If it was in the past, if someone called Ling Tai a drunkard or even a dog, he wouldn't do anything even though he would be angry, because at that time he just wanted to endure through this period of time. But today, since he had decided to sincerely acknowledge Ling Tai as his father, he would absolutely not allow anyone to insult his father. As he spoke, his figure flashed and a slap flew out. However, his slap did not hit Ling Bei. A huge shadow suddenly appeared behind Ling Bei's back. This figure was like a valiant general from ancient times. He held a huge axe in his hand and easily blocked Ling Xiao's palm, saving Ling Bei's life. Martial spirit? Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment. Only then did he recall that when he was dealing with Ling Bei had panicked and didn't even have time to use his martial soul. At this moment, he used it. Boom! After the fierce general martial soul blocked Ling Xiao's attack, it smashed its hammer again, causing Ling Xiao to retreat a few steps. Seeing the scene, Ling Bei was ecstatic. His fierce general martial soul was originally very strong. It was formed after the death of a fierce general from the sacred dynasty. After being beaten up by Ling Xiao today, he went to find Grandfather Ling to help him strengthen this martial soul. This made the martial soul even stronger. With the same cultivation level and such a strong martial soul, he didn't believe that he couldn't take down Ling Xiao. Kid, If you want to step into the martial arts hall, you have to fight with me. Otherwise, there is no way. I am not afraid to tell you that the elder on duty in the martial arts hall is my father's master. If I don't let you in, then don't even think about going in unless you fight with me." Ling Bei clamored. "All right, if you want to be beaten up, then try. I will not go easy on you." Ling Xiao said indifferently and hooked his finger at Ling Bei. "Don't think that you are stronger than me just because you won against me earlier. That was only because I was sneak attacked by you." Ling Bei roared and threw a punch at Su Qin. The martial spirit behind him had actually fused with his body. This ferocious punch was extremely overbearing and ferocious. Ling Xiao stared at Ling Bei's punch. In the past, he didn't even need to make a move. A look from him would be enough to make the other party commit suicide. However, it was different now. He had entered the cycle of reincarnation. In order to become stronger, he had to go through a period of weakness. When facing Ling Bei, he had to be careful. Otherwise, he would really fail miserably. He took a step back. The force behind his body penetrated his arms. The royal heaven power merged into his arms and blasted out. Bang! Their fists collided in the air, producing a deafening explosion. It was as if two fireballs had exploded, and the force was sent flying in all directions. Ling Xiao took 3 steps back. However, Ling Bei also took 2 steps back. Without using his martial soul, Ling Xiao would have a hard time suppressing Ling Bei with his current strength. Furthermore, Ling Bei had obviously consumed a martial soul pill. The martial soul pill was a treasure. It could greatly increase the combat power of a martial soul for a period of time. After the pill's effect was over, it could still increase the combat power of a martial soul to a certain extent. This was a high-grade black-rank pill. It couldn't be found in the White Tiger continent. It could only be found in the Black Tortoise continent. That Ling Yuhua was really biased towards this brat, to even let this brat consume such a thing. "Drunkard son, you are quite strong. I used my martial soul to fight you, but you only took 3 steps back. If you used your martial soul, I'm afraid even I would lose. It's a pity that you are a piece of trash. I'm afraid you don't have a martial soul." Ling Bei sneered. "Your strength is probably only at this level. Today, I will let you know the consequences of offending me." After speaking, he roared. The fierce general martial soul behind him flickered with a faint golden light. Ling Xiao frowned. This was the strengthening of the martial soul by the power of the bloodline. He didn't expect this small Yuhua town to have the power of the bloodline. However, so what if you have the power of the bloodline? So what if you have the fierce general martial soul? If I, Ling Xiao, can lose to a piece of trash like you, then how can I progress on the path of martial arts in the future? Ling Xiao believed that his opponent's combat experience was 1,000 miles away from his. Although his strength was still slightly weaker in terms of experience, he could crush his opponent. Kill! After brewing for a while, Ling Bei summoned an axe from his storage ring. Holding it with both hands, he chopped down at Ling Xiao. This wasn't a spar. This was simply asking for Ling Xiao's life. On the axe, there was a strange golden light, which was exactly the same as the martial soul. When the two merged, there was an explosion of terrifying power. Ling Xiao stood there and didn't move. He only watched coldly as the axe chopped down at him. After Ling Bei poured his heart and soul into the axe, Ling Xiao's lips curled into a smile. Ling Xiao, he lightly stepped on the ground with his right foot. Chapter 2095. Ling Xiao used the power of earth to tilt the ground. Ling Bei did notice that he had tripped and dropped the axe in his hand. He fell to the ground. Bang! At this time, Ling Xiao finally moved. He stepped on Ling Bei's body and sneered mockingly, "Even if you're stronger than me, I'm afraid you won't be able to win against me. I won't kill you today for your father's sake, but one of your arms must be crippled." As he spoke, Ling Xiao deliberately glanced behind a wall, not far away. He had already noticed that Ling Bei's father, Ling Tianxiong, and his son, Ling Wansui, were there. Ling Wansui was also an adopted son. So, in the Ling family, although he was older than Ling Bei was still the eldest grandson. After all, adopted sons didn't have the right to inherit. However, Ling Wansui didn't have any sympathy for Ling Tai or Ling Shao. Instead, he was extremely loyal to Ling Tianxiong. When they saw that Ling Bei had the upper hand, they didn't have any intention of stopping him. They clearly wanted to see Ling Shao make a fool of himself. However, when they saw Ling Shao stepping on Ling Bei and restraining him, the two of them released murderous intent at the same time. Unfortunately, in a situation where there was no way to defeat Ling Tianxiong and Ling Wansui, Ling Bei's life would have to be kept for the time being. Ling Shao sighed in his heart. He didn't expect Ling Wansui to jump out from the corner and kick him. "Drunkard son, you dare to hurt my brother? You're courting death." Ling Wansui didn't intend to reason with Ling Shao. His kick was aimed at Ling Zhao's heart. Ling Shao was already prepared for this, but he could only wave his arms to block it. Although he avoided the vital parts, he was still sent flying by the kick. Ling Wansui was older than Ling Bei, and his cultivation was much stronger than Ling Bei's. First, Grotto Heaven, Realm, cultivation. This cultivation was definitely not something that Ling Shao, who was in the lower levels of the Sky Realm, could contend with. Therefore, it was normal for him to be sent flying. Of course, Ling Shao wasn't injured. His profound world body was too strong, although his cultivation wasn't high enough. With this body, it wouldn't be easy for Ling Wansui, who was at the first Grotto Heaven realm, to injure him. However, as soon as he got up from the ground, Ling Wansui attacked again. This guy clearly wanted to humiliate Ling Shao and avenge his brother Ling Bei. Ling Tianxiong stood aside and did not care. He allowed Ling Wansui to attack Ling Shao. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with killing intent. A pitch-black flower gradually appeared in his palm. He didn't want to hold back anymore. He wanted to use the night demon flower to kill Ling Wansui. Enough! A vigorous voice suddenly echoed from the martial arts hall, dissolving Ling Wansui's attack. At the same time, Ling Shao gave up on the idea of using the night demon flower. There was no need to expose his identity just for Ling Wansui. If he wanted revenge, he would soon have the chance. He believed that it wouldn't take long for him to reach the Grotto Heaven realm from the lower levels of the Heaven realm. This is the martial arts hall, not a place for you to mess around. If you want to fight, get lost. The voice was still roaring. If he guessed correctly, it should be the martial arts hall's elder on duty. Boy, consider yourself lucky. Otherwise, I would have crippled you today. Ling Wansui stared coldly at Ling Shao and turned to Ling Tianxiong. Father, brother, let's go. It's boring to fight with this kind of trash. The annual meeting is about to start. They should be back soon, right? Haha, that's right. There are a total of 4 disciples from the Ling family in Yuhua Town. Besides you, who joined the Mystic Snake Demon sect, the other 3 have joined the Ling Long Palace, 7-Star Sword Palace, and Sky King sect. I'm afraid that these 3 will be your potential opponents in this year's annual meeting. Dealing with them is indeed more interesting than dealing with a piece of trash, not to mention a drunkard. Ling Tianxiong laughed proudly. This adopted son of his was really outstanding. Although he was not a martial artist who had reincarnated, he seemed to be more talented than Ling Shao. Looking at the backs of Ling Tianxiong and the others, Ling Shao sneered. Just you wait. I'll give all of you a surprise at the annual meeting. A martial artist who had reincarnated is not someone you ordinary martial artists can belittle. As for now, he planned to enter the martial arts hall to take a look. If there was a suitable martial technique, he would use it to practice and learn from others. After all, it was never a burden to have more skills. Even if he did not need this martial technique in the future, he could use it as a reference to comprehend other stronger moves. He, Ling Shao, had always been like this. The moment he stepped into the martial arts hall, he felt a strong aura staring at him. It should be the elder on duty. However, he did not care. He was here to choose a martial technique, not to cause trouble. Even the clan head, Ling Yuhua, had agreed. The elder on duty would not dare to mess around. The classification of martial techniques in the Black Tortoise continent was naturally similar to the other continents. Ling Xiao was only a Heaven Realm martial artist. Therefore, the martial techniques he could choose could not exceed the low-tier Jade grade. However, martial artists who had been through the reincarnation realm had a great understanding of martial techniques and the ability to innovate. This was especially true for Ling Xiao. He checked the gold grade and low-tier Jade grade martial arts on the first and second floor of the martial arts hall. After weighing the pros and cons, he finally chose a gold grade low-tier sword art, Falling Star sword art. For Ling Xiao, there was no difference between top-tier Jade grade martial arts and low-tier martial arts. This was because he could use his own ability to make the gold grade low-tier martial arts perfectly exert the power of top-tier Jade grade martial arts. Other than the effect of the Tai Chi, it was also because he had reincarnated and retained all his previous memories. A large number of martial arts intertwined and merged in his spirit ocean, complementing and perfecting each other. The reason why he chose the Falling Star sword art was mainly because Ling Xiao liked to use swords. Moreover, the Falling Star sword art not only contained sword moves, but also movement skills. The book said, "Body like a shooting star, sword like a star, lightning flashes, starlight arrives, heads fall." This book was really suitable for him. While holding the book, Ling Xiao had already begun to use the Tai Chi to analyze and modify the Falling Star sword art. After an hour, the originally gold-grade low-tier Falling Star sword art had been upgraded to the mid-tier Jade grade. It was not that Ling Xiao could not continue to upgrade it, but that the mid-tier Jade grade martial arts were more suitable for him as a First Revolution Heaven Realm martial artist. Moreover, this level was not low. One must know that the strongest martial art in the Ling clan was only the high-tier Jade grade. Only the clan head was qualified to cultivate it. Putting down the book, Ling Xiao turned and left. An old man's gaze was still fixed on him. He seemed to be disappointed and confused. Under normal circumstances, the Ling clan's disciples could make a copy of the book and cultivate it at home. It was fine as long as it was not leaked. However, it seemed that Ling Xiao did not intend to do so. Chapter 2096. The elder on duty checked the Falling Star sword technique and found nothing special about it. He shook his head and said, "What a useless piece of trash." He actually chose the worst low-tier gold grade martial art. I thought he could inherit his father's cultivation aptitude. One had to know that before Ling Tai's cultivation base was destroyed, his cultivation aptitude was much better than any of the Ling clan's geniuses. Let's not talk about the elder's disappointment in Ling Xiao. After Ling Xiao learned the Falling Star sword technique, he returned to the small courtyard and began to cultivate. What surprised him was that cultivating a new martial art could actually improve his cultivation. After an hour of cultivation, his Falling Star sword technique had already reached the level of great accomplishment. After all, he was the one who improved the low-tier gold grade martial art into a mid-tier Jade grade martial art. Therefore, he was very familiar with it. To cultivate it to the phenomenal level in one go, there was probably no one else in the Ling clan of Yuhua Town other than him. Moreover, after the Falling Star sword technique was cultivated to the great accomplishment realm, his cultivation had obviously improved by a large margin. From the low rank of the First Revolution Celestial Realm, he had directly advanced to the middle rank of the First Revolution Celestial Realm. Ling Xiao was as excited as if he had discovered a new continent. After all, this was the first time he had reincarnated, so he was not very clear on how to speed up his cultivation. This could be considered an unexpected gain. Who knew if he had a new martial art in the future, he could also cultivate it. Since it could help improve his cultivation, why not? In the small courtyard, there was a medium-sized martial arts field, big enough for 4 or 5 people to practice martial arts together. On the martial arts field, there were wooden dummies placed there. These wooden dummies were not to be underestimated. They were all strengthened by arrays. Generally speaking, it was really difficult for a Grotto Heaven Realm martial artist to break them. When Ling Xiao first moved here, he also tried to break them. It was indeed difficult to break them with ordinary fists. Now that he had cultivated the falling star sword technique, he wanted to give it a try. Therefore, he circulated his internal force and raised his hand. The ordinary iron sword in his hand released a dazzling sword aura like a falling star. Boom! In a moment, the wooden dummy was pierced into pieces. Moreover, each fragment had a clear and neat cut. It was obvious at a glance that it was made by a sharp blade. Interesting. This falling star sword technique actually contains two levels of sword intent, the fast sword intent and the sharp sword intent. Speed could catch the enemy off guard. Wasn't there a saying, in the world of martial arts, only speed is invincible? Sharpness, on the other hand, meant that it was incomparably sharp, causing the destructive power of the sword chi to become even greater. If it's only fast or sharp, I'm afraid it won't work. Ling Xiao felt that he might have underestimated this ordinary sword technique in the past. After comprehending the concept, this ordinary martial technique was still very powerful after being modified. If the falling star sword art was upgraded to the peak of the jade grade, it would be even more powerful. Who? Ling Xiao lowered his head and pondered. Suddenly, he thrust his sword at the top of the wall. A sharp sword chi pierced through the air. A scream came from the top of the wall. Ling Xiao quickly rushed out and found that a girl had fallen to the ground. Her hand was still bleeding from being stabbed by the sword chi. Ling Xiao had been merciful just now. Otherwise, this girl would have been beheaded. Of course, another reason was that this girl's cultivation was not weak. She was even stronger than Ling Wansui. She had actually reached the second Grotto Heaven Realm. You're crazy. Do you want to kill me? The girl shouted loudly. Ling Xiao felt that this girl was a bit familiar. He seemed to have seen her somewhere before, but he really couldn't remember. Because he was not familiar with the people of the Ling family, he didn't want to remember them. But speaking of which, this girl could be considered as a beauty. Although she couldn't be compared with Moon Maiden and Ling Yixue, she was still as beautiful as cold plum. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao was used to seeing beauties. He didn't have much feelings for this girl, climbing on other people's wall and peeping on them practicing martial arts. If I really kill you, I'm afraid no one will say anything wrong. Ling Xiao looked coldly at the girl in front of him. His attitude was very cold. What's so good about peeping on your broken falling star sword art? I know it too, and I'm better at it than you. The girl flew into a rage. The reason why I climbed the wall was because I wanted to see what my brother looked like. Your brother? Ling Xiao didn't know when he had such a sister. Yes, I'm the daughter of that bastard Ling Tianxiong. I'm also Ling Bei's sister. My name is Ling Jiaojiao. The girl shook the blood off her hand and said, for a Grotto Heaven Realm martial artist, a little flesh wound was really nothing. It could be healed very quickly. You actually called your father a bastard. Ling Xiao couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Why can't I? He's a bastard. My mother was angered to death by him. Ling Jiaojiao seemed to be very dissatisfied with Ling Tianxiong, but Ling Xiao couldn't be bothered with other people's family matters. He casually said, Miss, I can pretend that today's matter didn't happen. You can go back. Indeed, there was nothing to peep on low-level gold martial skills. Hey, I just heard that you were beaten up by Brother Wansui, so I came to visit you. Why don't you appreciate it? Ling Jiaojiao was dissatisfied. I'm fine. Thank you for your kindness. Ling Xiao didn't want to get close to the Ling family. Other than his father being killed, it was also because he had to leave this place sooner or later. If he was too close to the people here, it would be easy to get in his way. To put it bluntly, most of the martial artists in the Black Tortoise Continent's Ling family were too weak. If they were too close to him, it would be dangerous. As if I care about you. Ling Jiaojiao snorted and turned to leave. Ling Xiao sighed. He wasn't an unreasonable person. He was happy that Ling Jiaojiao cared about him. But the problem was that his relationship with Ling Tianxiong was too bad. Once there was a dispute, he might really kill Ling Tianxiong. Although Ling Jiaojiao scolded her father as a bastard, when it came to life and death, her father was still her father. After Ling Jiaojiao left, Ling Shao continued to practice the falling star sword art. He wasn't satisfied with the phenomenal success stage. If he wanted to practice, he had to reach the transcendent state. He was just like that. If he didn't do something, he wouldn't say anything. But if he really did do it, he would insist on it to perfection. When the sky was getting dark, Ling Zhao's falling star sword art had reached the perfect stage. But it wasn't that difficult to reach the transcendent state. He looked at the sky and decided to take a rest, although he was eager to improve his cultivation and combat strength. There were still some things he needed to do. One was to find the real murderer of his father. The other was to find the reincarnation of the Moon Lady. The Moon Lady's situation was different from his. She entered the reincarnation stage voluntarily and could retain her memory. But the Moon Lady would temporarily lose her original memory in the 10 reincarnations. It was the real reincarnation. Chapter 2097. Because the Moon Lady's memories were temporarily sealed, she couldn't possibly find Ling Shao of her own accord. Only Ling Shao could find the Moon Lady. It was naturally more troublesome to find the Moon Lady alone. So Ling Shao hid a strand of his divine sense in Little Fifth Soul Realm. He asked Little Fifth to help find the Moon Lady. As long as Little Fifth met the Moon Lady, his divine sense would detect it. This was much more convenient. Little Fifth only needed to wander around Yuhua Town. You guys look after the house. I'll go out for a while. After instructing a few servants, Ling Shao left the small courtyard alone. However, just as he stepped out of the Ling family courtyard, a strong gust of wind suddenly attacked him. He dodged it, and when he wanted to look for the person who had attacked him, there was no trace of him. He turned around and saw a flying dagger stuck on the door. There was also a note on it. He pulled out the flying dagger and took down the note. There was a line of words written in blood. "Young master, save me." It was signed by Little Fifth, and there was an address. Who was it? They didn't even let Little Fifth go? Ling Shao knew very well that this was a trap. The other party kidnapped Little Fifth and forced her to write a letter in blood to lure him out. However, he had no choice but to go. Little Fifth was able to stay by his side when his family was at its lowest. If he didn't dare to go because he was afraid of a trap, then he would be too cowardly. This was definitely not Ling Zhao's character. Very good. How dare you kidnap my people? I will let you know what fear is. Ling Shao ignited a ball of flame in his hand and burned the note to ashes. Then he ran out according to the address on the note. He used the meteor steps that he learned from the falling star sword art. Although this escape technique couldn't compare to his light flash godly steps and shadow steps, he wasn't afraid of being suspected if he used it in front of others. Moreover, his speed was relatively fast. The address on the note was in a rundown temple outside Yuhua Town. The rundown temple was very far from the town and was very remote. It was definitely a good place to kill someone. It was such an obvious trap that even an idiot could see it. Those people who kidnapped Little Fifth probably knew it too. As long as they kidnapped Little Fifth, even if Ling Shao knew it was a trap, he would definitely come back. The dilapidated temple soon appeared in front of Ling Shao. Through the Taiji eye, Ling Shao could clearly see the structure of the dilapidated temple and the people inside. Little Fifth was not dead yet. He was tied up and shivering in the corner. There were more than a dozen people in the dilapidated temple. All of them were martial artists, and each of their cultivation was no less than the celestial realm. These people were not masked, but they were all unfamiliar faces. In any case, Ling Shao had never seen them before. Save Little Fifth first, then kill these bastards. Ling Shao decided on a plan and finally disappeared into the darkness. He used the shadow steps to approach the ruined temple and at the same time released his Gemini martial spirits. This was the wilderness, which was suitable for the other party to kill him. Of course, it was also suitable for him to destroy the other party. The kidnappers sat in the ruined temple, chatting idly and eating meat. They seemed to be a little impatient from waiting. Mother ***, making me wait in the wilderness for almost an hour. Is that Ling Xiao really willing to jump into our trap for such a servant? The leader, a bald man, cursed. He will definitely come, because when he was in dire straits, only this servant was willing to follow him. That kid is a sentimental person. He will definitely come. Another person dressed like a scholar said with a smile, "Humph, that kid dared to make me wait for so long. When he comes, I will kill him." The bald man snorted coldly and stuffed a piece of meat into his mouth. However, at that moment, he saw blood flowing out from his throat. A sharp iron sword pierced into his throat, and even that piece of meat was dyed red. "I'm here. Unfortunately, the one who will die will be you." Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded from behind the bald man. At this moment, Little Fifth had already been rescued by the Gemini martial spirits. Ling Xiao could deal with these people freely. His sword pointed at the scholar and said, "Tell me who ordered you to kidnap Little Fifth. Tell me the answer, and I will let you live." Although he was not tall enough, the blood dripping from the iron sword made people forget that he was only the size of a 12-year-old child. "Kill him!" the scholar suddenly shouted. At the same time, a strange page appeared behind him and actually swallowed his body. After that, he disappeared. Ling Xiao wanted to chase after him. However, more than 10 people rushed in from outside, and he had already lost the best opportunity. What a strange martial spirit. Next time, I will not let you escape. The Black Tortoise continent was indeed more mysterious. He had never seen such a strange martial spirit before. He did not expect that there would be a Heaven Realm warrior here. However, it was really a waste. He was just about to deal with these warriors and leave when he suddenly felt that something was wrong. In this room, there seemed to be something else. He turned his head and found that in the corner of the room, there was a sack. Through the Tai Chi eye, he saw a girl who was tied up. This girl was none other than Ling Jiao Jiao. He hurriedly untied the sack and released Ling Jiao Jiao. However, this girl seemed to have gone crazy and kept crying, "Demonic madness powder." She was actually poisoned with demonic madness powder. Ling Xiao was shocked. Ling Jiao Jiao was only a 16-year-old girl. Who had such a big grudge with her that they actually poisoned her with demonic madness powder? One must know that once this demonic madness powder was eaten, it would make people crazy. Not to mention practicing martial arts, even ordinary people would not be able to do it. It was even more terrifying and evil than cultivation dissipation powder. The people in the room listen up. "Let Jiao Jiao go, and we will let you live." Just as Ling Xiao was in shock, he suddenly realized that the dilapidated temple was already surrounded. Hundreds of martial artists had appeared here, as if it had been arranged in advance. Moreover, the person who shouted was none other than Ling Wansui. "It's a trap within a trap." Ling Xiao instantly understood. This Ling Wansui was really ruthless. He did not hesitate to make Ling Jiao Jiao eat demonic madness powder to frame him and then kill him with a justifiable reason. What kind of deep hatred was this? He simply could not understand. He had heard that Ling Wansui hated Ling Jiao Jiao. Because Ling Wansui was adopted, Ling Tianxiong wanted to marry Ling Jiao Jiao to Ling Wansui. However, Ling Jiao Jiao was not willing. Therefore, the contradiction was born. Just for such a matter, he did this. This Ling Wansui's heart was really vicious. He did not know whether Ling Tianxiong was involved or not. If even that guy was involved, this was really like a tiger eating its own cubs. The human heart was really scary. However, he would not give Ling Wansui the opportunity to slander him. Glancing at Ling Jiao Jiao, Ling Xiao exchanged places with his Gemini martial spirit and then put away his Gemini martial spirit. Chapter 2098. Where is he? When Ling Wansui rushed into the temple, he was furious when he didn't see Ling Xiao. "I don't know. He was just here. The people guarding the temple were naturally arranged by Ling Wansui. Ling Wansui originally planned to kill all of them to silence them. That way, the dead could not testify and no one would be able to help Ling Xiao. But now the plan had fallen through. They didn't catch Ling Xiao at the scene, which would take a lot of effort. Returning to the small courtyard of the Ling family, Ling Xiao took something out of his pocket. It was a storage ring. His storage ring was still buried somewhere in the western region. With his current strength, he wasn't qualified to take it. So, it was really not easy to get this thing. Poor him. He was the young master of the Ling family in Yuhua town, but he didn't even have a storage ring. He had gotten it from the bald man he had killed. This kind of low-level storage ring didn't have any spiritual imprint. It was just a mobile warehouse. Ling Xiao poured his soul power into it and quickly found the things stored in the storage ring. There were a lot of spirit stones and money, which were precious to Ling Xiao at this stage. What he didn't expect was that there was a rare celestial marrow cleansing pill in the storage ring. The celestial marrow cleansing pill could help warriors of the celestial realm break through quickly and improve their strength. Ling Xiao could also refine this kind of pill, but the problem was that he didn't have the materials. He could be considered lucky to have actually gotten his hands on one. With this pill and the spirit stones in the storage ring, I guess I can reach the high level of the celestial realm by tonight. Ling Xiao now had a very strong sense of urgency. He had to improve his strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, not to mention the powerful enemies of the past, he couldn't even deal with the cats and dogs he met now. Strength was everything. With strength, it should be more convenient to find the whereabouts of the Moon Lady. Thinking of this, he did not waste any more time and directly entered the secret room. Then he used a formation to seal the door of the secret room to prevent anyone from disturbing him. Only then did he begin to cultivate. When others used pills and spirit stones, they had to pay attention to many problems. But he didn't need it. He directly grabbed it and put it in his mouth, then swallowed it in big chunks. His body would automatically digest these pills and spirit stones, turning them into his own strength and cultivation base. After a night, Ling Xiao stretched himself. After a night of cultivation, his cultivation had once again broken through, breaking through from the middle level of First Revolution, Celestial Realm, to the high level of First Revolution, Celestial Realm. It could be said that this level of cultivation was already invincible among ordinary Celestial Realm martial artists. He could even fight against ordinary First Grotto Heaven Realm martial artists without being at a disadvantage. Time to go out. Ling Xiao opened the door to the secret chamber and prepared to reward himself with a sumptuous meal after exiting the secret chamber. However, the moment he opened the door of the secret room, he suddenly sensed two murderous auras coming from the side. How dare you? Within the Ling family, someone dares to sneak attack me in my small courtyard. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Ling Xiao didn't even look. With a flash of sword light in his hand, two meteor-like sword qi stabbed to the left and the right at the same time. After two screams, two corpses had fallen to the ground. Ling Xiao stepped forward and turned the corpses over with his feet. He couldn't help but frown. If he was not mistaken, the corpses should be the servants of Ling Tianxiong, the first master of the Ling family. What will come will come. I'd like to see how you people want to slander me. Ling Zhao's lips curled into a cold smile as he quickly walked out of the secret room. He didn't hide, but walked openly to the martial arts field of the small courtyard, because at this time, everyone was gathered there. Little Fifth was beaten and covered in blood, lying motionless on the ground. The rest of the maids and manservants had obviously betrayed him, standing behind the group of people trembling. The leader wasn't Ling Tianxiong but Ling Wansui. However, there were many young masters and young ladies of the Ling family with him. He didn't know if they were here to cheer for Ling Wansui or to laugh at him. That guy is here. Kill him. He's the one who colluded with the kidnappers to kill Jiao Jiao. When people saw Ling Xiao appear, they all shouted with righteous indignation, as if Ling Xiao had committed a heinous crime. To be honest, Ling Xiao had already thought about today's matter yesterday. He knew that Ling Wansui had arranged such a meticulous plan, but he still managed to escape, so he must be unwilling. Today, he must have come to find trouble with him. He just didn't expect this idiot to be so anxious. Ling Xiao didn't pay attention to those cursing voices. After such a long time, he had already gotten used to these people's opinions. He walked straight to Little Fifth. At this time, Little Fifth was sitting below Ling Bei, and he looked like he was on the verge of death. Ling Xiao decided to go on a killing spree here today. Even the heavens wouldn't be able to stop him. Whoever dared to stop him, he would destroy them. He wouldn't even hesitate to destroy the Ling family. He had this ability, but it consumed a lot of energy. It could be said that to kill 1,000 enemies, he would lose 500 of his own. It wasn't as much as 800, but it wasn't a move that could be used frequently. However, if he was forced into a corner, he wouldn't care so much. Get lost. Ling Xiao looked at Ling Bei, his cold eyes revealing a strong killing intent. At that moment, Ling Bei actually jumped up. He was shocked, feeling as if there were countless swords stabbing towards him. Walking over, Ling Xiao helped Little Fifth up and checked his injuries. It was really serious. If he wasn't treated immediately, he would really die. You are all high and mighty young masters and young ladies, living a life of debauchery all day, but you have to make life difficult for a servant. Are you very proud? Ling Xiao was very angry, but his expression was very calm. If someone was familiar with Ling Xiao, they would know that this was the calm before the storm. The calmer it was, the more terrifying the anger would be. Humph, he deserves it. Following a master like you, it's a miracle that he didn't die. It's still those people who are smart. They know to abandon the dark for the light. Ling Wansui coldly snorted and said, "You guys, don't you think so?" Yes, the maids and manservants responded loudly. They really looked down on Ling Xiao, and now that Ling Wansui was their master, there were so many young masters and young ladies here. They weren't worried that Ling Xiao would dare to do anything to them. Those who betray me, only death awaits. Ling Xiao's cold voice came out of his mouth. One of his hands pressed on Little Fifth's back, healing him. Although it was impossible to heal Little Fifth, at least he could save his life and slowly heal him later. He was a pharmacist, so Little Fifth could definitely recover his health. Chapter 2099. Whoever hurt his people would have to pay 10 times the price. Whoever betrayed him would have to die. There was nothing much to say. Ling Xiao had always done things this way. When those people heard Ling Xiao's sinister words, they cowered a little. In the end, they were still cowards. What are you afraid of? With me here, he can't touch you. Ling Wansui put his hands behind his back and looked at Ling Xiao mockingly. He had no grudge against Ling Xiao, but Ling Tianxiong hated Ling Xiao. In order to make Ling Tianxiong value him more and give him more benefits, he naturally had to perform and kill Ling Xiao. As long as he killed Ling Xiao, he believed that Ling Tianxiong would repay him. As for the matter of Ling Jiaojiao taking the demonic psychosis powder, he naturally hid it from Ling Tianxiong. Although Ling Tianxiong was arrogant and stubborn, and even bullied the weak and feared the strong, even a vicious tiger would not eat its own cubs. He treated Ling Jiaojiao like that only because this woman refused to marry him and embarrassed him in front of everyone. Using the incident with Ling Xiao to make Ling Jiaojiao crazy was to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He had Ling Xiao in his grasp today. Everyone in the family was willing to believe him, not to mention he had witnesses and evidence. The witnesses were the kidnappers. As for the evidence, it was Ling Xiao's jade pendant that was left at the scene. Of course, this jade pendant was also stolen by the manservant of the Ling Xiao clan and placed there. The plan was simple and had many loopholes, but in the Ling family it could be said to be flawless, because no one would speak up for Ling Xiao. As long as he used this reason to kill Ling Xiao, everything would be over. The family would not even investigate and would only throw all the blame on Ling Xiao. Wonderful. It was simply marvelous. The more he thought about it, the smarter he felt. All these years of cultivation in the outer sect of the mysterious snake demon sect were not in vain. Not only had his cultivation improved, but he had also become more experienced in the way he handled things. If I want to kill them, can you stop me? Ling Xiao sneered and suddenly thrust his sword forward. How dare you? Ling Wansui waved his fists and blocked the attack. No one can do anything to the people I want to protect. Ah! As soon as he finished speaking, someone behind him let out a blood-curdling scream and was decapitated on the spot. Ling Zhao's sword was too fast. Even though his cultivation was higher than Ling Zhao's, he could not block that terrifying sword light. This scene truly shocked Ling Wansui. Previously at the entrance of the martial arts hall, Ling Xiao didn't even have the slightest bit of resistance in front of him. Today, Ling Xiao was actually able to kill the person he wanted to protect in front of him. Ah! Another scream rang out. Wherever the sword light pointed, blood splattered and heads fell to the ground. There was only killing intent in Ling Zhao's eyes. There was no pity at all. Traitors must die. This was his principle. What's more, these people, after relying on Ling Wansui, still shamelessly mocked him and ridiculed him. If he didn't kill all these people, how could he establish himself in the mystic world in the future? Kill! Another sword. Blood splattered everywhere. Ling Wansui wanted to stop it, but there was no way. Although his cultivation was higher than Ling Zhao's, his speed was not as fast as Ling Zhao's. Every time he was slower by a beat. He could only watch helplessly as the maids and servants died, leaving only one alive. It was not that Ling Xiao couldn't kill them, but he deliberately left them alive. Young Master Ling Xiao, please spare my life. I stole your jade pendant and gave it to the kidnappers. Ling Xiao had already known about this earlier. He had kept him alive so that he could make him say this. Just tell the truth. Ling Xiao smiled coldly and turned back to Little Fifth. At this time, although Little Fifth was still lying on the ground pretending to be dead, there was no guarantee that no one would use him to threaten him. Therefore, protecting Little Fifth in time was the best choice. However, the servant didn't survive in the end. Ling Xiao didn't kill him, but he was killed by Ling Wansui. Ling Wansui's palm strike was to vent his anger, but also because the manservant had told the truth. Young Master Wansui, did you hear that? My jade pendant was given to the kidnappers by him. Your evidence is simply a joke. Ling Xiao indifferently looked at Ling Wansui, then looked at the so-called witness, a kidnapper. The other kidnappers were probably killed by Ling Wansui, leaving only this one. Are you sure it was me who gave Ling Jiao the crazy demon powder? While speaking, he opened his right eye's three-leaf demonic pupil and injected a terrifying soul force into the kidnapper's soul realm. No, it wasn't you. I don't know who it was, but Ling Wansui told me to slander you, saying that you gave Ling Jiao the powder. The kidnapper's eyes glazed over for a moment, then he told the truth. It seems that Ling Wansui was very careful. He didn't let anyone know that he gave Ling Jiao the crazy demon powder. Therefore, the kidnapper only said that Ling Wansui wanted to frame Ling Xiao, but didn't say who used the crazy demon powder to harm Ling Jiao. Buzz! The scene suddenly went into an uproar. Before coming here, Ling Wansui's 2 pieces of evidence turned out to be fake. The evidence was fake, and the witness was also fake. Then Ling Xiao was innocent. Some people in the crowd began to talk about it. This Ling Wansui is a bit too much. Even if Ling Xiao can't do it, he is still a member of our Ling family. Doing this is despicable. What's so despicable about it? Maybe Ling Xiao bribed everyone, and the kidnapper was originally one of his people. Of course, he would exonerate him. Some people thought that Ling Wansui was too much, and some people still thought that this was Ling Zhao's conspiracy. However, what they said didn't make much sense. If Ling Wansui could kill Ling Xiao, then this dispute would be over. You drunkard son, how dare you slander me? Good, very good. Do you think that just because You killed the person I wanted to protect. You are invincible in the world. Today, I will kill you and make you understand. No matter how much you struggle, you are just an idiot who chose the wrong path. You want to learn from others and reincarnate? If you were really in the rebirth realm, then you would be so awe-inspiring. Ling Wansui wanted to kill, because he had to kill Ling Xiao. Otherwise, many things couldn't be explained. Only when Ling Xiao died, there would be no evidence, and he would be safe. I don't think there is anything wrong with reincarnating. On the contrary, those who don't want to reincarnate are timid and ridiculous. They are destined to be rebirth realm martial artists, and will never be able to become an immortal. Ling Xiao looked at Ling Wansui, sword intent wrapped around the iron sword in his hand. Since Ling Wansui wanted to kill him, he naturally wouldn't show mercy. Ha 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 ha. You want to become an immortal? Today, I will let you die, so that you can forget about it. Ling Wansui laughed. He liked to kill these reincarnated martial artists because it gave him a sense of accomplishment. Think about it, a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist killing a former rebirth realm martial artist. How satisfying would that be? Chapter 2100. The only one who will die here today is you. Ling Xiao faced Ling Wansui calmly. You are just an ant. You don't know what reincarnation is. With your cultivation, even 10 of you won't be a match for me. Bullsh *T. If I don't kill you today, I will change my surname to Dog. Ling Wansui was completely annoyed. Ling Xiao, who was usually quiet and didn't even dare to speak loudly, actually dared to yell at him in front of his face. He even killed the person he was supposed to protect. This kind of humiliation was unbearable for Ling Wansui. Last time, it was the elder on duty of the martial arts hall who saved you. This time, let's see who can save you. Kill! Ling Wansui suddenly roared, and the terrifying aura of the Grotto Heaven realm burst out. Boom! The powerful aura burst out, scaring the onlookers and forcing them to retreat dozens of meters away. Only Ling Xiao, Ling Wansui, and Little Fifth were left on the martial arts field. I advise you not to care about that slave's life or death. Otherwise, you won't even be able to take one move from me. A terrifying shadow appeared behind Ling Wansui. It was a strange giant snake. It spat out its tongue and stared at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had seen the snake-shaped martial soul before, so it wasn't that rare. However, the martial arts that Ling Wansui learned from the mystic snake demon sect was probably more compatible with this martial soul. The combination of the two was definitely powerful. It couldn't be underestimated. But Ling Xiao sneered. He didn't just get the Empyrean marrow cleansing elixir and spirit stones from the Baldy. He also got something else. That was the martial soul. In order to not expose his identity, Ling Xiao wouldn't directly release any of his martial souls. After all, this was the Western region, and he didn't have a good relationship with the 5 major factions of the Western region, especially since the mystic snake demon sect and the Linglong Palace had a deep grudge. He had to be extra cautious. Therefore, if he wanted to use his martial soul, he could only snatch it from others. At worst, he could just throw it away after his cultivation recovered. Fortunately, even if the Tyrant Heaven's martial spirit did not appear, it could still release the Tyrant Heaven's force to strengthen other martial spirits. In this way, no matter what martial spirit he used, he could make his opponent suffer. To be honest, Ling Xiao didn't really like the Baldy's martial soul, and it wasn't suitable for him to use. However, it wasn't a bad idea to be particular about it. Boom! Similarly, a terrifying aura erupted from Ling Xiao's body. Behind him, an illusory figure also appeared. The bald man's martial spirit was actually a bear martial spirit. I didn't expect Ling Xiao to have a martial soul. When the giant bear shadow appeared behind Ling Xiao, everyone was stunned. For a long time, there had been rumors in the family that Ling Xiao did not have a martial spirit. However, the appearance of this martial spirit had shattered this rumor. All right, since we both have animal-type martial souls, let's see who can perform better. Ling Wansui sneered. He was surprised that Ling Xiao had a martial spirit. However, the difference in cultivation wasn't something that a martial soul could make up for. Furthermore, Ling Xiao had a martial soul, and so did he. Snake fist! Ling Wansui shouted. His figure flashed, and in a flash he appeared in front of Ling Xiao. His hands suddenly became extremely soft, as if there were no bones in them. His hands blasted out dozens of fist shadows, which were so dense that people couldn't tell if they were real or fake. Ling Xiao's cultivation wasn't as high as his opponent's, so he didn't plan to fight head-on. Instead, he chose to dodge. His speed was his advantage, as long as he could find Ling Wansue's flaw. Then suddenly attack. He would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Dodge my ass, you really have no balls. You were so tough just now, but in the end you don't even dare to take a punch from young Master Wansui. Trash will always be trash. It's a waste to have such a strong martial spirit. That's right, you're just like a mouse. You might as well get a mouse martial spirit. Ha 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 ha, well said. Mocking voices came from the crowd, but they were all from Ling Wansue's group. They saw that Ling Wansui couldn't attack Ling Xiao and were afraid that Ling Wansui would have an accident, so they deliberately provoked him with words. This kind of provocation was especially effective against young people. Most of the young people who heard such words would fly into a rage and lose their minds. However, Ling Xiao only smiled indifferently, not taking their words seriously. What others said had nothing to do with him. The process didn't matter either. As long as he was able to kill Ling Wansui, then the one who had the last laugh would be him. Ling Xiao, you trash after talking for so long. Do you dare to take a punch from me? Ling Wansue's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. To be honest, although his strength was stronger than Ling Xiao's, of course, this was only what he thought. But if he couldn't catch Ling Xiao, then he wouldn't have 100 million. He knew that if this continued for a long time, the one who would suffer in the end would be him. Because every time he attacked, he wanted to kill his opponent, so he consumed a lot of inner qi. If this continued, the first one to fall would be him. No, I have to think of a way. Otherwise, I will make a fool of myself today. Ling Wansui suddenly looked at Little Fifth. His eyes flashed with a trace of treacherous ruthlessness. You Ling Xiao, didn't you say that you won't fight me head-on? Good. Then I will use that kid to bait you. I'm not afraid that you won't submit. Thinking of this, he suddenly attacked Ling Xiao with a few punches, then suddenly retreated and pounced at Little Fifth. However, while rushing at Little Fifth, he secretly circulated his inner qi, paying attention to Ling Xiao's movements. Ling Wansui, you are courting death. Violent bear strike. He didn't pull out his sword because it was too late. Ling Xiao directly used his martial spirit and attacked Ling Wansui's back. Haha, just in time. Ling Wansui thought that his plan had succeeded, so he prepared a punch at Ling Xiao. In the void, a black python collided with a black bear and then exploded with a loud bang. Black smoke filled the air, scaring all of the Ling family's young masters and young ladies. They thought that Ling Wansui could easily crush Ling Xiao, but they didn't expect that this collision would cause such a terrible effect. This showed that Ling Xiao's attack was not weak at all. When the black smoke dissipated, they saw that Ling Xiao and Ling Wansui's arms were trembling. However, Ling Xiao's was actually a little lighter. In terms of attack power, Ling Wansui was indeed stronger, but in terms of strength, Ling Xiao was a level higher. Don't forget that he still had the terrifying, mysterious world body. Even if he reincarnated, he wouldn't lose it, but he wouldn't be as strong as before. Otherwise, Ling Wansui wouldn't be able to hurt him. Your fist doesn't seem to be much. Ling Xiao coldly looked at Ling Wansui. You keep saying that I don't dare to fight you head-on. Keep saying that you can kill me with one punch, but the result? Are you farting? Hey, young Master Wansui, don't be merciful. Yes, young Master Wansui. You didn't go to Spring Wind House yesterday, right? Why do I feel that my hands and feet are weak? The crowd burst into laughter. almost everyone thought that Ling Wansui didn't use his full strength. Chapter 2101. In a head-on collision, Ling Xiao and Ling Wansui were evenly matched. This caused some discordant voices to be heard from the crowd. Many people seemed to think that Ling Wansui was being lenient. Otherwise, Ling Xiao wouldn't be so relaxed. However, only Ling Wansui knew that Ling Xiao's arm contained a terrifying power. Was this guy a body refinement martial artist before he entered the reincarnation cycle? How can his strength be so terrifying? Ling Wansui's face was very ugly. He used a very shameless method to force Ling Xiao to fight him head-on. He thought that he could easily take down Ling Xiao, but now it was extremely embarrassing. His face was burning as if he had been ruthlessly slapped. Hee, I thought your fist was very powerful. You couldn't wait to fight me head-on. I didn't expect it to be so weak. Ling Xiao mocked. At this time, Ling Wansui's heart was in turmoil. He couldn't calm down. Just yesterday, he had beaten Ling Xiao to the point that he couldn't fight back. But today, this guy was able to fight evenly with him. No, he couldn't let this guy live. Not even for an hour. Otherwise, he didn't know how strong this guy could be. Just now, I was being lenient because you are also a descendant of the Ling clan. This time, you won't be so relaxed. Ling Wansui shamelessly lied. However, the second half of his sentence was sincere. My master is the mystic snake demon sect. The martial skills I learned are many times stronger than those in the Ling clan's martial hall. You better kneel down and surrender. Otherwise, if I attack again, you will die without a burial place. As he spoke, his body released a terrifying black aura. The snake martial soul behind him constantly roared. Suddenly, a huge black snake head appeared between his fists. At that moment, the air seemed to be intimidated by the black snake head. A terrifying aura and pressure spread out, causing the Ling clan disciples who were whispering to each other to retreat. That's the Black Snake Devil Sect's low-tier Jade grade martial skill the young master Wansui mentioned. Black Snake Roar! What a terrifying pressure. Young master Wansui had shown mercy earlier. He should have already reached the great perfection stage of the Jade grade martial skill. Ling Xiao is dead for sure this time. Ling Xiao looked indifferently at Ling Wansui's terrifying black snake roaring, and couldn't help but laugh. The Ling clan already has a low-level Jade grade martial skill, yet you chose to forsake what is close at hand for what is far away. How laughable. Today, I will use the Ling clan's low-level gold grade martial skill to defeat you. I will let you understand that in my eyes, you are not even comparable to trash. Go to hell. Black Snake Roar. Ling Wansui was infuriated. He punched out with both fists, and a huge black figure roared as it pounced toward Ling Xiao. The black smoke it spat out terrified the crowd. A low-level gold grade martial skill against a low-level Jade grade martial skill. That Ling Xiao must have been so scared that his mind is muddled, right? Mocking voices could be heard from the crowd. However, Ling Xiao just smiled indifferently. How could such a fool understand the terror of a martial artist who had entered the reincarnation realm? Falling Star Sword Art. I just learned a sword art from the martial arts hall yesterday. You all should know that it is a low-level gold grade martial skill. Ling Xiao slowly drew out his iron sword. In fact, if he didn't use a weapon now, he might be more powerful than if he used a weapon. However, that would be too inconceivable, and it would easily expose his identity. Therefore, this iron sword was just for show, used to hide his identity. Therefore, it didn't matter if it was good or not. Even if Ling Xiao used the flying leaves, it would still be a terrifying killing weapon. Not to mention the iron sword was actually even more powerful. It can't be. It really is the Falling Star Sword Art. The crowd exclaimed because everyone knew that the Falling Star Sword Art was indeed a low-level gold grade martial skill. At this moment, Ling Xiao raised the iron sword in his hand and suddenly released a bright starlight. Internal force emerged from his body. much stronger than that of an ordinary heaven realm martial artist. His internal force was not only profound internal force, but it was also profound internal force after the first revolution. It was purer and more essence than before. Therefore, with the same internal force, he was much stronger. This was also the premise that he could defeat Ling Wansui, the #1 Grotto Heaven realm martial artist, with a high-level heaven realm cultivation. When the starlight appeared, Ling Zhao's sword had already pierced out. At that moment, the iron sword tore apart the black snake's body and then pierced through Ling Wansui's body. Ling Wansui was like a pitiful little animal, pierced through by Ling Zhao's iron sword. His face was full of horror and disbelief. 2 moves. In just 2 moves, Ling Zhao had severely injured Ling Wansui, the #1 Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. This was simply unbelievable. All the Ling clan's disciples were stunned. They looked at this scene stupidly and didn't know what to say for a long time. How is this possible? How can a low-level, gold-grade sword skill be so powerful? Yes, this is impossible. How can the falling star sword skill so easily cripple the black snake roar? Could it be that a low-level jade-grade martial skill is inferior to a low-level gold-grade martial skill? That kid must have used some despicable means. He must have used some despicable means to give Jiao Jiao the demonic madness powder. He must have used some other despicable means. As soon as this person finished speaking, he felt a chill on his neck and then a sharp pain came. He was horrified to find that his eyes could actually see his own body, but there was no head on his neck. Those who slander me must be killed. Ling Zhao instantly killed the person who slandered him and then returned to his original position. Ling Wansui was still stabbed by his sword. The crowd didn't even see clearly that he had moved. If the person next to him hadn't been killed, if it hadn't been for Ling Zhao's warning, they would have thought that Ling Zhao had been standing there the whole time. At this time, Ling Zhao's terrifying internal force had seeped into Ling Wansui's body. His entire body was unable to move. Only his consciousness was still clear. However, at this time he no longer had his previous frivolity and complacency. He had become incomparably terrified, like a frightened bird. Trash like you. I've seen a lot of people before I entered samsara. You can't do it yourself, but you still like to suppress others. I've seen a lot of people like you, but they're basically all destroyed. I have no enmity with you, but you scheme to frame me and put me to death. Do you really think that I, Ling Zhao, am easy to bully? Today, I'll kill you in front of these people and let them understand that a martial artist who has entered samsara is not someone you can bully just because you want to. Don't kill me, Ling Wansui shouted in horror. He understood, he really understood. The martial artists who had entered samsara were all people who had experienced a very terrifying cultivation process. It was too difficult to kill these people. To go against such a person, the final result might be very miserable. Even if he really killed the other party, the gains would not make up for the losses. Chapter 2102. Looking at Ling Zhao's cruel and cold eyes, Ling Wansui knew that this person must have killed a lot of people before entering reincarnation. That terrifying murderous aura, even after entering reincarnation, still existed. Scared? Now you want to beg for mercy? Don't you think it's too late? If it was just a few words of humiliation, Ling Zhao would not have killed the other party. But this Ling Wansui used the demonic madness powder to destroy Ling Jiao Jiao, and then used this matter to frame him. Not only did he want to kill him, but he also wanted to destroy his reputation. With such a vicious heart, it would be a disaster to keep it alive. It would be better to kill it and get rid of all future troubles. Thinking of this, the iron sword in his hand moved, and he was about to completely destroy Ling Wansui. But at this moment, a cold light suddenly shot from a distance. What followed was a tender voice. "Stop it!" Ling Zhao hurriedly retreated. This attack was very strong, much stronger than Ling Wansui. With his current cultivation, he was still unable to confront it head-on. After standing still, Ling Xiao looked at the person who came. The person who came was none other than the Ling family's outer disciple who joined Linglong Palace, Ling Moyu. Ling Moyu had always been considered one of the Ling family's most outstanding geniuses. Only the person who joined 7-star Sword Palace could suppress her. In other words, Ling Moyu was ranked second among the Ling family's younger generation. Along with Ling Mou, there was also a young master who looked like a jade tree in the wind. Similar in age to Ling Moyu, Ling Xiao also had an impression of him. He seemed to be from Yuhua Town's Qin family. It was said that he was Ling Moyu's fiancé. He seemed to be called Qin Kuan. There was still a big conflict between him and Qin Kuan. The Ling family and the Chun family had a good relationship on the surface, but the undercurrent was turbulent and had been secretly fighting. Because the Ling family was not good to Ling Xiao, Qin Kuan tried to use Ling Xiao to deal with the Ling family. As a result, he was rejected by Ling Xiao. It was not that Ling Xiao had any feelings for the Ling family, but mainly because he knew what kind of thing Qin Kuan was. After using him, he would inevitably kill him. He was not an idiot. Because of this matter, Qin Kuan had always held a grudge in his heart and repeatedly humiliated Ling Xiao in public. At that time, Ling Xiao only wanted to live through this period of time peacefully, so he didn't make a fuss about it. Furthermore, he wasn't Qin Kuan's match at that time. This was how the grudge between the two of them was formed. Now that Qin Kuan had appeared, he had probably heard that Ling Wansui wanted to kill him and had come to laugh at him. However, what Qin Kuan didn't expect was that he didn't see Ling Wansui as a joke. Instead, he saw Ling Wansui being taught a lesson. He coldly glanced at Qin Kuan and noticed the vigilance in Qin Kuan's eyes. Very clearly, Qin Kuan started to have some apprehension towards him. Young master of the Qin clan, if you come to our Ling clan as you please, you might lose your life one day. Ling Xiao sneered and said, Don't think that just because some things have passed, no one will mention it. I remember it very clearly in my heart. You shut up, Ling Moyu suddenly said. You nameless brat. Our Ling clan gave you food and drink, which is already good to you. I didn't expect you to do such a heinous thing today. If I don't kill you, it will be difficult to explain to my ancestors. Ling Xiao looked at Ling Moyu indifferently. This woman's cultivation was not bad. She actually had the cultivation of the third heavenly passage realm, which was stronger than Ling Jiaojiao. She was worthy of being an outer disciple of Linglong Palace. At this time, he was definitely not Ling Moyu's opponent. Unless he used the tyrant martial spirit or the night demon flower, it would be difficult to retreat. But looking at Ling Moyu's expression, it was clear that she had made up her mind to kill him. It seemed that today's matter couldn't be settled peacefully. He, worthy of being the genius girl of the Ling clan, you're really awe-inspiring. Your Ling clan gave me food and drink? Don't joke around, okay? Since I was born, my family has never received a monthly allowance from your Ling clan. And my father, Ling Tai, has worked in the mine for so many years, but you only gave him a meager salary. If you really want to say it, your Ling clan owes us father and son, and I don't eat and drink your food and drink. Furthermore, you've just arrived here, yet you're already trying to pin such a big hat on my head without distinguishing between right and wrong. Let me ask you, how am I heinous? Ling Xiao looked at Ling Moyu indifferently. He was really disgusted with this kind of woman. Well, even if you didn't spend the Ling clan's money, you violated the clan's rules. You poisoned Jiao Jiao with the crazy devil powder and used despicable means to harm Ling Wansui and killed so many Ling clan disciples. Isn't such a practice heinous and outrageous? Ling Moyu still maintained her high and mighty status as a young lady, like an omnipotent god, judging Ling Xiao. Who do you think you are? Ling Xiao said contemptuously. The person who gave Ling Jiaojiao the crazy devil powder was Ling Wansui. This kind of scum, not to mention crippling him, even if he was killed, it wouldn't be too much. You scolded me as soon as you came up. But have you ever spent a minute to investigate the truth of the matter? You people always think you're high and mighty, but in fact, you're ridiculous. I don't need to investigate. Ling Wansui is one of the geniuses of the Ling clan and a disciple of the mysterious snake demon sect. It's absolutely impossible for him to do that, and you have ulterior motives, and you're harboring evil intentions. How could Ling Mayu admit that she was in the wrong in front of Ling Xiao? She would only make her behavior more dignified. Ha 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 ha, well said, well said. It seems that the truth isn't important. What's important is who's stronger. Father Ling Tai said something right. This is a world where the weak are prey to the strong. There's no reason to speak of, only strength is king. Ling Xiao laughed wantonly, looked directly at Ling Moyu and said, "Since you've determined that I'm heinous and outrageous, then make your move. But if you're knocked to the ground by me, like that Ling Wansui, I'd like to see who will come out to protect you." At this time, Ling Xiao already had the intention to kill. A woman like Ling Moyu was simply a born bitch, self-righteous to the extreme. Of course, his words were more to scare Ling Moyu. After all, Ling Xiao could afford to lose, but Ling Moyu couldn't. In the eyes of others, Ling Xiao's life was worthless, but Ling Moyu was born noble, the second genius of the Ling clan. If she was really knocked down by Ling Xiao like Ling Wansui, then she would completely lose face. Sure enough, Ling Moyu began to hesitate. Instead, Qin Kuan said with a smile, "Moyu, why don't you let me help you deal with this kid?" "Who do you think you are? Since when is it your Qin clan's turn to intervene in our Ling clan's matters?" Ling Xiao glanced at Qin Kuan and scolded loudly. "Today's matter, I'm really going to intervene." Qin Kuan's purpose was very simple. Since Ling Xiao was already hated by everyone, then he would take this opportunity to eliminate Ling Xiao. In this way, even if the Ling clan blamed him, he could use Ling Mayu as an excuse. Chapter 2103. This Qin Kuan's strength was indeed terrifying. His cultivation was exactly the same as Ling Moyu's. His aura burst out, and the shadow of a saber appeared behind him, making people tremble. Yuhua Town's two major families, the Ling family's martial spirit was sword, and the Chen family's martial spirit was saber. Generally, as long as a martial artist had the bloodline of the two families, they would have such a martial spirit. Rumor had it that this was left behind by the expert who had ascended to immortality in Yuhua Town. That expert called himself the Saber and Sword Divine Emperor. He had a sword in his left hand and a saber in his right hand. In the end, he had cultivated to the mortal realm. The sharp saber intent was released, and the saber chi had not yet slashed on Ling Xiao's body. Just the saber intent alone was enough to make Ling Xiao feel cold all over his body, as if he was being cut by a blade. Although the cultivation of the first rank heaven realm is already very strong, to be able to defeat the first rank Grotto Heaven realm martial artist, there is still a gap with the third rank Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. Ling Xiao understood in his heart that whether it was Ling Mayu or Qin Kuan, they were not to be trifled with. "I'm going all out, it's over." In Ling Xiao's palm, the black night devil flower began to condense again. But at this moment, a resplendent sword light tore through the void, completely isolating Qin Kuan's saber intent. A person appeared in front of Ling Xiao. "You're here." Ling Xiao looked at the person in front of him and could not help but smile. This person was his secret chess piece, but whether it would work or not, he did not know. But since she came, it meant that the secret chess piece had worked. The person who came was none other than Ling Jiaojiao. In fact, when Ling Xiao left the dilapidated temple, he had completely absorbed the medicinal power of the devil madness powder in Ling Jiaojiao's body. After all, Ling Jiaojiao had been poisoned by the devil madness powder for a relatively short time, unlike Ling Tai, who had been poisoned by the cultivation dissolving powder for more than 10 years. So Ling Xiao was still confident in doing this. Ling Xiao hoped that Ling Jiaojiao could help him a little on account of his kindness, but he still did not expect that Ling Jiaojiao would actually take the initiative to help him in front of so many people. This girl seemed to be a girl who valued friendship. It was not in vain. Ling Muiyu looked at Ling Jiaojiao and couldn't help but be stunned. Jiaojiao, are you okay? This is the person who poisoned you with the demonic madness powder. Why are you still protecting him? Elder sister Mou, you're too arrogant and simply aren't willing to listen to other people's explanations. The one who used the demonic madness powder to deal with me wasn't Ling Xiao, but Ling Wansui, whom you wholeheartedly protected. Ling Jiaojiao faintly looked at Ling Muiyu and said, Ling Xiao, not only did he not harm me, he even saved me. Today, whoever wants to deal with him will be my enemy. These few words were simple, but they were like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. The crowd could choose not to believe Ling Xiao's words, but they had to believe Ling Jiaojiao's words. Obviously, Ling Jiaojiao had told the truth. Most people were shocked and in disbelief. Did the demonic madness powder spoil your brain? To think that he would recognize a thief as a friend. Ling Wansui has always been loyal to the Ling family, even if you don't want to marry him. He hasn't done anything out of line. How can you side with Ling Xiao now? Ling Muiyu indifferently said. It was impossible for her to admit that she was wrong. Even if she knew in her heart that Ling Muiyu's words were true, she was still willing to believe in her own judgment and believe that Ling Xiao was the sinner. Miss Ling Jiaojiao, you don't need to talk nonsense with her. She's a disciple of the Linglong Palace. How can she admit that she was wrong? Ling Xiao sneered and said, The people of the Linglong Palace can't be wrong. Even if they really did something wrong, it's still right. It doesn't matter if she believes it or not. Today I'm here. No one can hurt you unless I die. Ling Jiaojiao's fate was actually not much better than Ling Xiao's. She lost her mother when she was young. Moreover, her mother was beaten to death by her father, Ling Tianxiong, in front of her. Her young heart had long been seriously traumatized. When she grew up, her father only regarded her as a burden, and her brother, Ling Bei, only regarded her as a tool. He wanted to use her to make a deal with the Chen family. She was really tired and bitterly disappointed. That day when she came to find Ling Xiao, she actually felt that the two of them had the same fate and should have a common topic. She didn't expect that Ling Xiao would directly drive her away. After that, she was poisoned by Ling Wansui and became a tool to frame Ling Xiao. However, her luck was not bad. She was actually saved by Ling Xiao. In fact, Ling Xiao could completely ignore her, but Ling Xiao did not do so. This girl who had lived an unhappy life since childhood was really willing to give her everything to repay the kindness and care of others. Because of this, Ling Jiaojiao could say that she would sacrifice her life for Ling Xiao. In her eyes, Ling Xiao was the only one who treated her the best, unlike those hypocritical guys in the family. Perhaps for Ling Xiao, saving her was just a small matter, but for Ling Jiaojiao this was a lifetime event. Ling Xiao, can you hide behind a woman for the rest of your life? Ling Muiyu looked at Ling Xiao and said, with Ling Jiaojiao's obstruction, she could no longer force her way. No matter what, Ling Jiaojiao was a member of the Ling family and was also a genius. So she wanted Ling Xiao to fight with her. Then aren't you a coward who hides behind a man? Ling Xiao ridiculed. You. Ling Muiyu took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in her heart, and said, Since you want to fight with me, fine. Anyway, there is less than a month before the annual meeting. At that time, let's fight to the death at the annual meeting. How about it? Ling Muiyu was really angry. She wanted to consign Ling Xiao to eternal damnation and make Ling Xiao lose face in front of the entire Yuhua town. After all, there would be a lot of people watching the Ling family's annual meeting. It was also reasonable to deal with Ling Xiao at the annual meeting. Also, you can't kill Ling Wansui now. You can settle your grudges at the annual meeting. Ling Muiyu continued. Sister Muiyu thinks too highly of that Ling Xiao. In less than a month, that Ling Xiao definitely won't dare to agree. Yes, Sister Muiyu's cultivation is at the 3rd Grotto Heaven realm, and it is said that she is likely to break through again. At that time, I'm afraid she will be a fourth Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. She probably saw this point, so she asked Ling Xiao to fight at the annual meeting. If Ling Xiao really agrees, he will die. Yes, he will die if he agrees, but if he doesn't, he will also suffer. Ling Xiao knew that if he didn't agree, Ling Mayu would come up with many ways to deal with him. For less than a month of peace, he had to agree. What's more, for him, less than a month was enough to surpass Ling Mayu. Ling Mayu thought that this was a scheme against him, but she didn't know that she was seeking her own death. Well, I promise you, I won't kill Ling Wansui today, but I will kill him at the annual meeting. But I want you to remember one thing. If he dares to scheme against me again, don't blame me for killing him immediately. Ling Xiao said coldly. Okay. Ling Moyu nodded. Today he couldn't fight Ling Xiao because Ling Jiaojiao stopped him. But at the annual meeting, Ling Jiaojiao had no way to stop him. Chapter 2104. Now you can get lost. My small courtyard does not welcome people like you who look down on people with dog eyes. Get lost. Ling Xiao suddenly shouted. Boy, you are still so arrogant and made such a big mistake. Even if I can't clean you up today, you can't escape the family law. Let's go. Ling Moyu looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. She didn't put Ling Xiao in her eyes at all. She never thought about competing with Ling Xiao at the annual meeting because Ling Xiao was not worthy. This was the reason why she chose to protect Ling Wansui. She believed that as long as Ling Wansui summed up his experience and lessons during this time, then at the annual meeting, he would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao. There was no need for her to take action. Ling Moyu left. Chen Kuan naturally also left, and there were many people who came to watch the fun, leaving only corpses on the ground. Soon, the news that Ling Xiao was going to challenge Ling Mayu at the annual meeting was spread throughout the family by those busybodies and even the entire Yuhua town. Most people treated this matter as a joke. Thank you for just now. When everyone left, Ling Xiao looked at Ling Jiaojiao and said, The one who should say thank you is me. Ling Jiaojiao lowered her head and said with a bit of shyness, If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would have become a madman. Then we don't owe each other anything. Ling Xiao never wanted to get too close to Ling Jiaojiao because he would leave here sooner or later. At that time, if Ling Jiaojiao got too close to him, he would inevitably be targeted by many dangerous guys. Don't forget, Ling Xiao had a lot of enemies, and many of them could easily destroy the Ling family of Yuhua town. Hearing Ling Zhao's words, Ling Jiaojiao frowned and immediately sighed helplessly. I know you have not been happy since you entered the world of reincarnation, and even I have never paid attention to you. So you don't want to be friends with me, I understand. Ling Xiao didn't say anything. Although that wasn't the reason, it was enough. However, I don't care. I, Ling Jiaojiao, am a person who dares to love and hate. I just said that no matter who wants to touch you, I will fight them to the death. Ling Jiaojiao suddenly smiled and said, Including Daddy and Grandpa. Why are you doing this? Ling Xiao sighed. He finally understood what it meant to be the hardest to accept a beauty's grace. It's not bitter at all. Instead, I feel very happy. I've never had a close friend in my life. Even if I die because of you, I feel that it's worth it. Ling Jiaojiao smiled and said, It's just little brother. Do you really want to fight with Sister MOU at the annual meeting? She is not an ordinary warrior. Even in the outer sanctum of Linglong Palace, she is considered a genius. Don't worry, I naturally have my reasons for making decisions. Do you believe me? Ling Xiao asked. Ling Jiaojiao froze for a moment, then nodded and said, I believe you. Ling Xiao was really moved by this girl at this time. She was not afraid of death. What reason did he have to drive her away? To be honest, he had seen a lot of such heroic women. Cold Plum, Ling Sha, Xiali Ling Yixue, Fengming Lian Jiluoyu, and his favorite moon maiden. Although Ling Jiaojiao's cultivation was not as good as theirs, her character was very similar to theirs. Forget it. If you want to stay here, then stay here. It just so happens that I can give you some pointers on your martial skills. To be honest, those martial skills of yours are too bad. Ling Xiao said without hesitation. I understand. It's the same falling star swordsmanship, but it's completely different when displayed by you. Ling Jiaojiao nodded. Please take care of little Fifth. I'll deal with these bodies. It was not a good idea to leave the bodies there. Ling Xiao planned to burn them directly. Okay. Ling Jiaojiao nodded and helped little Fifth into the hall. Seeing that they had left, a ball of terrifying true samadhi fire appeared in Ling Xiao's palm. In an instant, it spurted out and burned all the corpses. There was not even a trace of blood left on the ground. If anyone wanted to destroy the bodies, he was definitely the right person to look for. He turned and walked into the hall. Just as he was about to enter, a few people suddenly rushed in. Ling Xiao, clan leader, wants you to go over. The people were sent by Ling Yuhua. After all, such a big thing happened today. It was impossible to say that nothing happened. I'll go with you. Ling Jiaojiao ran out and said, No need. Clan leader is not a reckless person. I'll be fine. Ling Xiao believed that Ling Yuhua would not kill him. In fact, the reason was simple. Ling Yuhua was a very realistic person. Whatever he did, he prioritized benefits. And he had enough benefits to let Ling Yuhua not pursue this matter. In the entire Ling family, Ling Yuhua was absolutely a man of his word. As long as Ling Yuhua did not intend to pursue this matter, then others naturally could not pursue it. Help me take care of little Fifth. After saying that, Ling Xiao followed those people out of the small courtyard and went straight to the clan leader's courtyard. In the clan leader's courtyard, there were several people sitting in the hall. Clan leader Ling Yuhua, eldest son Ling Tianxiong, Ling Mayu, and Ling Bei were also there. Ling Xiao stepped into the hall and cupped his hands at clan leader Ling Yuhua. It was considered a salute, but he did not pay attention to Ling Tianxiong and Ling Mayu. How dare you not kneel in front of your uncle, but you dare not kneel in front of the clan leader? Ling Tianxiong was irritable like thunder. It was obvious that he was extremely dissatisfied with what happened today. This person was really outrageous. His own daughter was poisoned by the demonic madness powder. Instead of pursuing Ling Wansui, he came to find trouble with Ling Xiao. It was probably because he wanted to protect Ling Wansui. After all, if Ling Tianxiong wanted to have a position in the Ling family, he must have an outstanding son. His biological son Ling Bei could not do, so he could only pin all his hopes on Ling Wansui, who had already joined the outer sect of the mysterious snake demon sect. How could he not protect Ling Wansui? I, Ling Xiao, only kneel to my parents. Even the heavens and earth are not worthy of my kneeling. Ling Xiao glanced at Ling Tianxiong and said. Ling Yuhua frowned, but soon relaxed. This old man liked to get straight to the point and did not like to beat around the bush. He asked directly, Jiao Jiao, was it you who poisoned her with the demonic madness powder? No, it was Ling Wansui. If clan leader does not believe me, you can ask Miss Jiao Jiao. Ling Xiao replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. You killed all the people in your small courtyard? Ling Yuhua asked again. Yes, they either betrayed their master or slandered me. If I don't kill them, it will not be enough to quell the anger in my heart. Moreover, the Ling family's rules support my actions. Ling Xiao replied again. What a load of nonsense. He has a sharp tongue and many sophistries. Father, no need to talk nonsense with this kid. Just drag him out and beat him to death. Ling Tianxiong was anxious. He stood up and roared. Are you the clan leader, or am I the clan leader here? Sit down. Ling Yuhua said coldly. Father, sit down. Chapter 2105. I heard that you defeated Ling Wansui's Black Snake Roar with the Falling Star sword art. How can a low-tier gold-grade sword skill defeat a low-tier jade-grade martial skill? If your cultivation is stronger than his, it's understandable. but your cultivation is obviously not as good as his. Ling Yuhua's question was not what Ling Tianxiong was concerned about, but there was nothing Ling Tianxiong could do. Ling Xiao cupped his hands and said, I dare not hide it from Patriarch. In the end, it's because Ling Wansue's skills are not good enough. He did not tell the truth because it was not the time to tell the truth. This truth could be used as a condition of exchange between him and Ling Yuhua. He would not easily say it. I can let bygones be bygones for what happened today, and from now on, whoever dares to trespass into your courtyard, you can kill them without mercy. Can you tell the truth now? Ling Yuhua was indeed an old fox. He could tell that Ling Xiao was lying, and he could also tell that Ling Xiao was implying something. My words are only for Patriarch. As for some people, they're not qualified to listen. Ling Xiao glanced at Ling Tianxiong and Ling Moyu. He really did not know how these two people had the face to sit here. Father, don't listen to his nonsense. What ability can he have? Ling Tianxiong hurriedly said, Yes, grandfather. This person has ulterior motives. I'm afraid he will harm you. Ling Moyu also said, Enough. Could it be that you all think that he can injure this old man? Go back first. Don't mention what happened today again. Ling Yuhua was indeed a realist. As long as Ling Xiao could make Ling family stronger, he could even give his position as patriarch to Ling Xiao. To be honest, this kind of person was cruel, not only to others, but also to himself. Yes. Ling Moyu glared at Ling Xiao and turned to leave. Ling Tianxiong also stood up, but he did not leave immediately. When he passed by Ling Xiao, he suddenly released a terrifying aura. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao instantly. After all, he was Ling Yuhua's son. In his opinion, even if he killed Ling Xiao now, Ling Yuhua would definitely not blame him. But very clearly his understanding of Ling Xiao was actually not as good as Ling Xiao. A terrifying force was released from Ling Yuhua's body and blasted Ling Tianxiong out of the door. Ling Tianxiong spat out a mouthful of blood. Ling Tianxiong, let me tell you, if you continue to obstruct my plan to strengthen the Ling family, I will kill you even if you are my son. He really wasn't joking. That horrifying murderous aura was released, and Ling Tianxiong was scared witless and ran away. Ling Xiao also felt a sense of awe. This Ling Yuhua was actually a yin-yang realm martial artist. His murderous aura was very strong. Although it couldn't be compared to the past, it was much more powerful than many martial artists in the same realm. All right, they are all gone. You can speak now. Ling Yuhua looked at Ling Xiao with a cold gaze. The murderous aura just now was not only released to Ling Tianxiong, but also to Ling Xiao. It was to warn him not to play any tricks. Ling Xiao smiled and said, I won't lie to you, clan leader. Before I reincarnated, I was a pharmacist, and my level wasn't low. The reason why I could defeat Ling Wansui was because I took an elixir to increase my combat strength before the battle. You actually know about arrays, and even know how to refine elixirs. Ling Yuhua was stunned for a moment, but then his face was filled with ecstasy. Why didn't you say so earlier? If you had said so earlier, I wouldn't have let you live such a terrible life. Even if your father is trash and your mother is just a lowly commoner, as long as you have this ability, you can still be rich in the Ling family. Hearing such words, Ling Xiao didn't have the slightest bit of gratitude or happiness. Instead, he was filled with anger and coldness. You treat others as tools, and others will only treat you as a tool. Ling Yuhua, sooner or later, I'll let you have a taste of that feeling. Ling Zhao's heart was incomparably gloomy and cold. He must take revenge on Ling Yuhua. Originally, he thought that his parents' encounter was because of the people below messing around, and Ling Yuhua did not know. But looking at it now, the situation was not like that. Ling Yuhua was actually very clear about this matter. Even not giving out the monthly allowance was this old thing's order personally. It's also not too late to know now. Ling Xiao forcefully suppressed the fury in his heart and said with a smile, His current strength was still insufficient and still needed to rely on Ling Yuhua to do some things. Therefore, he had to endure it first. Say, what kind of elixirs can you refine? Ling Yuhua asked anxiously. What kind of elixirs does clan leader need? Ling Xiao countered with a question. At present, the majority of the Ling family's martial artists are all Deva realm cultivation. Only a few Grotto Heaven realm martial artists. I hope that you can refine sufficient Deva marrow cleansing pills and also refine some Grotto Heaven spirit essence pills. How about it? Can you refine it? Ling Yuhua asked. Deva marrow cleansing pills are easier to refine. Grotto Heaven spirit essence pills are more difficult. However, I should be able to succeed. But the materials required are not small. Ling Xiao reminded. It's all right. As long as you can refine it, we can provide the materials. Ling Yuhua said. If that's the case, then there's no problem. Clan leader, please tell me the exact number. I'll check the materials required. Ling Xiao nodded. All right. Old Hay, come over. Have you calculated the number of Deva marrow cleansing pills and Grotto Heaven spirit essence pills that I asked you to previously? Ling Yuhua called over his most trusted subordinate. Master, I've calculated it. Deva marrow cleansing pills require 5,500 sets. Grotto Heaven spirit essence pills require around 100 sets. Old Hay replied. Hearing Old Hay's words, Ling Xiao immediately gave him a list of materials. In fact, it was the materials for Deva marrow cleansing pills and Grotto Heaven spirit essence pills. To him, one set of materials to refine one pill was definitely not a problem. However, this was a deal and he naturally couldn't lose out. He required a total of 5 sets of materials for one pill. Are you sure you want 5 sets of materials? Ling Yuhua looked at Ling Xiao with a strange expression and asked, Clan leader, you should know that refining pills isn't something that can be done overnight. There's always a chance of failure. Ling Xiao explained. Of course, I know that. What I mean is, are 5 sets of materials enough? Ling Yuhua asked again, how about this? I'll give you 6 sets of materials for one pill. You have to confirm the number of pills that we require. How about that? Of course. Ling Xiao was elated when he heard that. He had actually gotten the situation wrong. It was difficult to even find an alchemist in Yuhua Town. There was no one who could refine Deva marrow cleansing pills and Grotto Heaven spirit essence pills. Therefore, regardless of whether it was the Ling family or the Chun family, they had a large number of materials. However, they couldn't convert them into pills. Ling Yuhua heard that the Chun family had found an alchemist from outside to refine these pills. It required 10 sets of materials to successfully refine one pill. Moreover, the remuneration was very high. Chapter 2106. Don't be careless. Refining elixirs is not an easy task. How about this? To ensure that you have no worries, I will give you another 10 low-grade spiritual stones as a reward for every batch of elixirs you successfully refine. Ling Yuhua wasn't worried that Ling Xiao would ask for too much. Instead, he was worried that Ling Xiao would fail. Therefore, he wanted to create the best conditions for Ling Xiao to refine elixirs. Thank you, clan leader. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't refuse. After all, he didn't have any feelings for the Ling family. He would get as much as he could. One batch of the materials would be used to refine elixirs for the Ling family. The remaining 5 would belong to him. He would refine the 70% perfect immortal marrow cleansing elixir and Grotto spiritual essence elixir for the Ling family, and 100% perfect elixirs for himself. The difference between the two would only get bigger. Ling Yuhua was a person who did things his own way. After the conversation, he personally handed over the materials to Ling Xiao. He even lent Ling Xiao a storage ring and a cauldron for refining elixirs. Ling Xiao returned to the small courtyard and entrusted Little Fifth to Ling Jiao for the time being. He planned to leave for a while. He needed the divine fire to refine elixirs. Such a thing wouldn't be discovered if he used it occasionally. However, when refining elixirs, its aura would easily evaporate and be easily detected. Therefore, he had to find a deserted place. Moreover, after obtaining so many materials, he also wanted to use them to refine some better elixirs for himself, Ling Jiao Jiao and Little Fifth. He needed to go outside Yuhua town to find some materials. Don't worry, Ling Xiao. I will take good care of Little Fifth. Ling Xiao believed Ling Jiao Jiao's words because she was a person who kept her words. Thank you. However, before I leave, I need to help you solve the problem of martial techniques and cultivation techniques. Your Ling family's cultivation method has a serious problem. Therefore, it is hindering your cultivation speed. Actually, with your talent, it is possible for you to reach the yin-yang realm at the age of 16. Ling Xiao said, Is what you said true? Ling Jiaojiao stared at Ling Xiao with her mouth agape. Although Ling Xiao looked much younger than her, she didn't dare to look down on him when she thought about how he was a reincarnated martial artist. Only the martial artists who had reincarnated would know so many things. Trust me. Tell me the martial skills and cultivation methods that you are cultivating. Ling Xiao said, I believe you. Ling Jiaojiao had no one to trust. Now that she knew Ling Xiao, she was willing to treat Ling Xiao as her most trustworthy friend. After she finished speaking, she demonstrated all the martial arts techniques she had cultivated. She also ran through the cultivation method and explained it to Ling Xiao. The sword skill you're practicing right now isn't suitable for you. You should choose the 1,000 Mountain Stormy Sword that you used to practice. Also, your cultivation method should be more extreme. You have the sword martial spirit, so your cultivation method can be offensive. You don't have to worry about defense. You should focus on attacking. If your attack is strong enough, you can win. Offense is your best defense. Ling Xiao said after listening, but the 1,000 Mountain Stormy Sword is a low-level gold grade sword skill. Its power can't be stronger than my current low-level jade grade sword skill. Also, the cultivation method you mentioned, can I really not defend? If I can't deal with the opponent and have no defense, won't I lose for sure? Ling Jiaojiao was puzzled. I defeated the Black Serpent's roar with the falling star sword technique, so I can improve your 1,000 Mountain Storm Sword. Also, with your weak defense, you won't be able to defend against those weaker than you, and you won't be able to defend against those stronger than you. It's useless. It's better not to have it. Put all your energy into attacking. You'll be much stronger than you are now. Ling Xiao explained. Okay, I believe you. Ling Jiaojiao hesitated for a while before nodding. Ling Xiao smiled. He then spent 2 hours to improve Ling Jiaojiao and Little Fifth's cultivation methods. Then he quietly left the Ling family and went to the mountains outside Yuhua town to look for herbs. Some herbs couldn't be bought in a small place like Yuhua town. He was familiar with the town, so he didn't go to the medicine shop. Outside Yuhua town there were mountains. After all, the land was too big, and the places where humans lived only took up a very small part of it. Most of the places were actually desolate mountains and forests. It was the same in Sky Dragon Continent, Divine Phoenix Continent, White Tiger Continent, and Black Tortoise Continent. The mountains outside Yuhua town were called the Western Mountain Range. The Western Mountain Range ran through the entire western region of Black Tortoise Continent. Many places were the territories of the 5 superpowers, so he had to be careful. The moment Ling Xiao stepped into the Western Mountain Range, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. At that moment, he suddenly felt as if he was free. But soon the wild beasts in the Western Mountain Range made him realize the reality. The weakest wild beast in the Western Mountain Range was at the Heaven Realm. It was commonly known as the Heaven Demon Beast. The deeper he went, the more terrifying it was. There were even Grotto Heaven Demon Beasts and Yin-Yang Demon Beasts. Ling Xiao didn't plan to go deep. He found a secluded cave at the edge of the Western Mountain Range and set up a formation to start refining the elixirs. He only planned to refine the elixirs that the Ling family needed to refine to 70% perfection. So it was very simple. It only took him less than 3 days to complete all of it. It was more troublesome to refine the elixirs for him. He had to find other materials. Thinking of this, he left the cave and opened his Tai Chi eye to search for the herbs he needed. There were indeed many treasures in the western mountain range, but most of them were in the depths. Even a rebirth realm warrior would be in danger if he entered. With his current strength, it was impossible, but he wasn't greedy. The elixir materials he needed could be found at the edge of the mountain range. It took him an entire day to find the materials. When he returned to the cave and was about to refine the elixirs for himself and start cultivating, he suddenly saw a flash of light in the forest. After this flash of light, there was a group of people following it. The people leading the group were none other than Chin Kuin and Ling Moyu. This adulterous pair had wanted to kill him. Did they chase him all the way here? No, that couldn't be right. They were clearly chasing after that flash of light. Ling Xiao didn't know why the two of them were chasing after that flash of light. But since they wanted to do it, he had to stop them. Also, the flash of light was obviously not an ordinary item. How could it fall into the hands of that adulterous pair? Since he had found it, he naturally had to get it. Thinking of this, he secretly used the shadow step to follow them. Anyway, this was the wilderness. No one would notice him using the shadow step. In this dark forest, the shadow step was extremely effective. Even if he stood next to those warriors, they wouldn't be able to detect him. Chapter 2107. While chasing, Ling Xiao also opened his Tai Chi eye to take a closer look at what that thing was. Taking a closer look, he discovered that it was actually a very unique flying sword. This flying sword was entirely made of wood, with many beautiful carvings on it. It looked very beautiful. However, it should not be a weapon. It was probably a decoration used for viewing. Even so, that wooden sword exuded a strange aura. It should not be an ordinary item. The wooden sword seemed to have a consciousness. Being chased in a hurry, it was so frightened that it lost its sense of direction. It actually crashed into a tree and then fell to the ground, seemingly trembling a few times. Surround it, don't let it escape. Chen Kuan waved his hand, indicating the people behind him to form a dense encirclement surrounding that wooden sword in the middle. Sister Moyu, I'm afraid we've found a treasure this time. This wooden sword flew past Yuhua Town and was coincidentally seen by us. I've never seen a sword that can fly by itself. It must be good. Chen Kuan excitedly walked towards the wooden sword. As he walked, he said, "Wait a minute, Brother Kuan. If we get this thing, who should have it? We discovered it at the same time." Ling Mayu suddenly stopped Chen Kuan and said, "Clearly, the two were particularly interested in this wooden sword. No one wanted to give it up. Sister Moyu, who are the two of us? We'll be a family in the future." Chen Kuan smiled and said, "We have a marriage contract since we were young. Originally, we said that we would get married when we turned 16. Unfortunately, something went wrong in the middle. However, the marriage contract was not cancelled. In the future, we will share the same bed. This thing is mine, so it's yours." "Okay, then I'll keep this wooden sword for now." Ling Moyu smiled. Chin Kuan frowned. Just as he was thinking about how to solve this matter, the wooden sword suddenly flew up and fled into the distance. "Stop it!" Chen Kuan shouted. His subordinates immediately pounced forward. However, what surprised Chen Kuan was that the wooden sword clearly did not touch the two subordinates, but the two were sent flying. "Someone's here." Chen Kuan was also a third Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. He sensed that things were not simple. That wooden sword seemed to have been knocked out. It was impossible for it to fly alone, let alone attack his people. Someone must be causing trouble. His guess was correct. Ling Xiao used shadow steps to grab the wooden sword. Originally, he wanted to store it in his storage ring. However, the inscriptions on the wooden sword flickered, and it refused to enter the ring. He had no choice but to charge forward with his wooden sword. His shadow steps was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the dense forest. Qin Kuan and Ling Mayu desperately chased after them. However, Ling Xiao, who possessed the Tai Chi Eye, was much more familiar with the jungle than they were. It was even more familiar than the wooden sword. With a few movements, it had already disappeared without a trace. Damn it! If I find out who stole my treasure, I'll kill him. Chen Zhao was furious. For the sake of this wooden sword, he had followed it for several days. He couldn't eat or sleep well. When they charged into the western mountain range, they were attacked by demonic beasts and lost a few of their subordinates. He had worked so hard to reap the fruits of his victory, but someone else had beaten him to it. It was truly infuriating. Search. He absolutely could not let them escape. I don't believe that he would dare to enter the depths of the western mountain range when the area near Ascension Town is only so big. Qin Kuan roared angrily. At the same time, he and Ling Mayu had discussed and sent people down the mountain to inform the Chen and Ling families. They would send a large number of people to guard the foot of the mountain. No matter who came down from the mountain, they would be strictly investigated. After all, that was a treasure. If they really lost it just like that, they would be too unwilling to accept it. After a while, someone returned to report, "Young master, we found a cave. It seems that someone has lived in it. Guard there and wait for him to return." Chen Kuan gritted his teeth and said, "But be careful. This kid knows how to hide himself. Everyone be alert. Also, release your internal energy at all times to guard the surroundings." Not to mention Chen Kuan sighed. After Ling Xiao snatched the wooden sword, he walked deeper into the western mountain range. He knew that Qin Kuan would definitely not let him go, so he didn't return to the cave. At the very least, he wouldn't go back now. It wouldn't be too late to go back after his cultivation had increased. At that time, whether it was Qin Kuan or Ling Mayu, they might not be his match. While hurrying, Ling Xiao carefully observed this specially made wooden sword. The inscriptions on the sword should be small formations that were very close together. Ling shouted a simple check. There were actually more than 3,000 types, and each type was very exquisite. Even for him, it would take him a long time to figure it out. "Master, what's with these arrays?" Ling Xiao asked the Yuan Venerate in the Mountain River realm. Although he had entered Samsara, as long as the Sky Tyrant Martial Soul was still there, the Yuan Venerate and the Butterfly Lady would definitely still be there. This sword should be a secret sword. For short, magic sword. The Yuan Venerate replied, "Magic swords can't be used to execute martial techniques and are rather fragile. However, they can be used to execute mystic techniques." There were tens of thousands of clans in the sealed world, and one of them was called the Secret Technique Clan. It was said that this clan had migrated from the technique realm. There weren't many people in this clan, but they were all very powerful. After being absorbed by the Human King, they became a very powerful tribe under the Human King's banner. People from the Mystic Spell clan generally don't have strong bodies, but as long as they hold a magic sword, the destructive power they can unleash is very shocking. Mystic techniques can be executed using spirit power. Can I also use this magic sword? Ling Xiao asked. You should be able to use it. Every inscription on this sword represents a secret technique. As long as you study and master it, you will be able to use it. Although it won't be of much help to your cultivation, it will be very useful. Although it won't help you greatly, it can help you greatly increase your combat strength. It will be even more useful, especially since you can't use any of your previous moves. The Yuan Venerate replied. However, Master, this wooden sword was flying on its own just now. Could it have developed a consciousness of its own? Ling Xiao asked again. I'm not too sure about that. The Yuan Venerate shook his head. It seems like you will have to figure it out yourself. If there's nothing else, I will go to sleep first. I can't come out so easily after you enter Samsara. All right. Ling Xiao nodded. After sensing that the Yuan Venerate had gone to sleep, he took the magic sword and observed it carefully. Master said that I can use my spirit power to drive this magic sword. Why don't I give it a try? With that thought, Ling Xiao poured his spirit power into it. In an instant, he suddenly saw the figure of a girl. The girl was trapped in the wooden sword. No, to be precise, she had almost completely fused with the wooden sword. The girl's appearance could be described as a natural beauty. In terms of beauty, she actually didn't lose out to the Moon Lady. However, she looked a little strange. Her hair was golden yellow, but her eyes were as beautiful as sapphires. Her appearance was very similar to a certain clan in the Sky Dragon continent. Chapter 2108. Miss, are you all right? Ling Xiao tried to use his soul power to wake the girl up. He noticed that the girl was sealed in the sword in the form of a soul body. He should be able to wake her up with his soul power. Ah! A scream that sounded like something had exploded rang out. Ling Xiao jumped in fright. This was a deeper part of the western mountain range. The beasts that appeared here were also stronger. Most of them were top-tier heaven beasts. There were even grotto heaven beasts. Don't scream. I won't hurt you, Ling Xiao hurriedly said. You're not with those people just now. The girl was naive. She actually believed Ling Xiao when he said that he wouldn't hurt her. She stopped screaming and stared at Ling Xiao's soul body with her big, watery eyes. That's right. We're not with them. I snatched you from them. Ling Xiao explained. Oh, I see. Thank you. The girl hurriedly said. Right. I'm called Secret Technique, Divine Codex. What about you? What kind of name was that? Ling Xiao was stunned. He had heard of many strange names, but it was the first time he had heard of such a strange name. Secret Technique, Divine Codex? Why did it sound like a book? What did it have to do with a person's name? Oh, I'm Ling Xiao. How about I call you Divine Codex from now on? Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment before he calmed down. There were all kinds of strange things in the vast thousand worlds. Furthermore, there were thousands of races in the mystic world. It wasn't strange for such a strange name to appear. Not bad, Ling Xiao. The girl was very friendly. She smiled and said, How did you enter the Sword of Secrets? Ling Xiao asked curiously. I didn't want to go in. Someone sealed me in here. Sigh, I'm so unlucky. Divine Codex sighed. Ling Xiao didn't delve into this matter because he could feel that the structure of the sword was very intricate. It was definitely not something that an ordinary person could possess. Since someone was able to seal the divine scripture inside, he was definitely not a simple person. With his current strength, it was better not to care about those trivial matters. What he needed to do now was to thoroughly understand this secret technique. At the very least, he would be able to increase his combat prowess. Although his soul power had also been damaged after entering the samsara, it was much less than the loss of his cultivation base. To him, the secret technique might become his true trump card. Just as the God Codex was about to speak, Ling Xiao sensed a dangerous aura rushing towards them from afar. He hurriedly withdrew his soul power. He stared in the direction where the dangerous aura was coming from. When he opened his Taiji eye, he could see a wild boar about 1,000 meters away from him running madly in his direction. This was a top-tier heaven-tier demonic beast, which was even stronger than him. Perhaps the godly grimoire's scream had attracted it over. However, Ling Xiao had no intention of running away. Holding the secret sword in his hand, he silently circulated his soul power. Although he was still unable to comprehend many of the profound spirit arrays on the sword, he had already figured out a few of the simplest spirit arrays. In order to be safe, he also took out the iron sword. The spirit sword in his left hand and the iron sword in his right. He thought that if the spirit sword didn't work, he could just attack with the iron sword. With his current cultivation base and strength, defeating a top-tier heaven-tier demonic beast was relatively easy. On the spirit sword, a spirit array began to emit a red luster. Then, Ling Xiao pointed the spirit sword. A fireball was released. Secret technique, fireball technique. A fireball rushed out. This was only an ordinary fireball and not a divine fire, but its power was extremely shocking. When it hit the Heaven Tier wild boar, it actually burned the Heaven Tier wild boar into a roasted pig in an instant. So strong. If I use divine fire to cast this spirit array, wouldn't the power be even more terrifying? For the first time, Ling Xiao felt the terror of the secret technique. If he had this spirit sword, if he encountered a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist again, it would be as easy as chopping vegetables. Moreover, when he held the spirit sword, he could feel that the consumption of his soul power was very low. The process of casting the secret technique also became very short. This was probably the benefit of the secret technique sword. Ling Xiao, are you also from the secret technique clan? Otherwise, why would you use such a secret technique? Shen Dian asked in surprise. I'm not from the secret technique clan, but I know the spirit array on it. I just activated it. Ling Xiao felt that Shen Dian should know a lot of interesting things, so he didn't lie because he hoped to learn more about the secret technique clan and the secret technique from Shen Dian. People always had to look forward. As long as it was a method to increase his combat strength, he wouldn't let it go. So that's how it is. In fact, this spirit sword can not only allow people who don't understand the secret technique incantation to use the secret technique, but it can also increase the power of the secret technique. Shen Dian explained. So that's how it is. No wonder I felt that ordinary flames could cause such great destructive power. In addition to my soul power, it should also be related to this spirit sword. Ling Xiao nodded, thinking that he had indeed picked up a treasure this time. He didn't know what would happen if Qin Kuin or Ling Mayu found out about this. The two of them would probably fly into a rage. By the way, Ling Xiao, where is this place? Shen Dian suddenly asked. This is the western mountain range of the Black Tortoise Continent. To put it in a small way, it is the edge of Yuhua Town. Therefore, this section of the mountain range is also called the Yuhua Mountain Range. It is the border between the nearby Chan country and the volcano country. Ling Xiao replied, Never heard of it. Shen Dian shook his head, seeming to be a little confused. It's normal that you haven't heard of it. The Chun country and the volcano country are both relatively small countries. Ling Xiao explained, Okay, let's find a safe place first. The movement just now has probably attracted the attention of the monster beasts. We must be careful. Okay, Shen Dian naturally agreed. Although the wild boar heavenly monster beast was powerful, Ling Xiao could still deal with it. However, if a powerful Grotto Heaven monster beast really came, it wouldn't be so easy to deal with. Because the magic sword couldn't be put in the storage ring, Ling Xiao wrapped it in a rag, then carried it on his back and began to look for a safe cave. He planned to successfully refine the medicinal pills he needed here first. When his cultivation improved to the point where he could compete with Qin Kuin and Ling Moyu, he would leave. This magic sword was taken away by him. He believed that Qin Kuin and Ling Mayu would never let him go easily. It was always right to be careful. With the guidance of the Tai Chi Eye, Ling Xiao easily found a safe cave and then hid it with a formation. Shen Dian, I was worried about being targeted by the monster beasts, so I didn't have time to ask carefully. Are you also from the Black Tortoise Continent? Ling Xiao asked while sorting out the herbs. Yes, but I am from the Central Territory. Shen Dian replied. Is the Central Territory big? I have never been there before.